Initiating moisture.
Moist meter, Cuphead, two words that are synonymous with excellence. Many of you are probably like me and remember Cuphead being first announced when you were a young boy. Now you're a 23-year-old man who's graduated college and has sprouted a very scraggly beard that he hasn't shaved in a while, and you kind of expected Cuphead to never come out. But to everyone's pleasant surprise, it has finally been released into the real corporeal world, and my god is it amazing. It is a beautiful, great, beautiful, excellent, great, splendid experience. Let's go ahead and start with the beautiful, great stuff. Let's start with the best thing. The first thing that's going to give everyone a stiff clitoris and a hard wiener is the aesthetic of this game, the visual style. Designed to be like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, it is absolutely amazing. It is just a joy to watch, joy to play. Everything is just so nice to look at. It is just an absolutely gorgeous looking game. It ejaculates style. It anally leaks perfection. Just the visuals are so nice and stimulating. It's great. My favorite visuals in all of video gaming, most likely. I'd really have to think of something that can even compete with this. I had a really rough hangover just a matter of hours ago, but when I sat down and played Cuphead for a little bit, it not only completely got rid of the hangover, but it filled my body with great nutrition and vitamins. It made me a taller and more handsome man. And not only is the visual style top notch, I'm happy to say it's not like one of those games where it has really great visuals, but everything else is lackluster because they spent all the focus on the look of the game and everything else kind of sucks ass. Here, everything is really great, not just the visuals. The gameplay is super fun and it's very challenging. It's really trying to push our species to evolve and adapt. It's kind of like the scene in Deadpool where they're forcing the mutations to come forth. That's what Cuphead is trying to do to our species, and it's beautiful. The game is challenging, but it's fair. It's very fun to play. Soundtrack it's really nice. It gives you something to really wiggle your finger to. It's just a great and fun soundtrack. The co-op is nice. It's not fully realized. It's just kind of a bare bones style co-op, which is fine because it's a nice thing to just kick back and play with a friend that's nearby. There's a story here that's obviously not the focal point, and it doesn't really play a huge role in anything. The game really revolves just around the bosses and just general gameplay. But the story, it really isn't bad. It's pretty interesting, and it makes you want to figure out how these two cups are actually going to beat the devil. Very embarrassing for the devil to even be threatened by two cups, some household objects, but these shits don't fuck around. There's also a lot of gameplay, a lot of content here for a price tag of $20. There's a lot in this game there for that price point. Now, there is a few complaints I have about the game, and I also need to mention I'm only showing footage from the first couple of bosses because a lot of the fun of the game comes from finding these new bosses and being shocked by how beautiful they are. It makes you want to give them a big sloppy kiss. So I'm not going to spoil any more bosses than just the first couple. Now, the complaints I have is the bosses rely a lot on trial and error. You're never going to one cycle a boss for the first time. You're going to take many tries to do it. It's not exactly a huge complaint because it'd be underwhelming to just steamroll a new boss. So it's good that you can't really do that. But it does get frustrating because you have to commit at least 15 deaths to each boss just to even figure out what kind of pattern is going on and how you're even going to take them down. And sometimes the bosses can just rely on bad RNG, like the clown roller coaster amusement park thrill seeker guy. That boss kind of did boil down to you just got to make sure the roller coaster is in a good mood. But really, it's fun. The trial and error is fun, and it makes it challenging, which is good. Another thing that's really kind of lacking is everything that's not a boss battle. The run and gun sections, they don't really seem very fleshed out. They're very just not that interesting. They're there to collect coins. They're there to just kind of keep you horny for the upcoming boss battles, and the coins help you get new power-ups to fight the bosses. They're just not super great. They're still fun, but they're not nearly as good as the boss battles, and they're just kind of stale. Overall, that's about the only real complaints I have. The game is just absolutely fantastic, so let's go ahead and put it in the moist meter. I'm giving this a 90%. That is the highest so far on the moist meter's history. So a big round of applause and a solid high five to Cuphead and the team. The game was absolutely worth the wait, and it's worth the $20. It's a game I think anyone will enjoy. Even if you're not a fan of old school kind of games, the old like Mega Man style or anything, I still think this is a game most people would enjoy. It's just really, really fun and it's beautiful. So that's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. When it comes to online reviewing of shit, it's basically a battle royale. Except we're the undisputed unanimous winner of this battle royale. The Moist Meter is the king, the only one you can trust, and today we're turning our omniscient gaze towards Apex Legends. It's the newest condom tossed atop the pile of condoms known as the battle royale genre, and this one's made by a developer that I have a lot of respect for. This is made by Respawn of Titanfall fame in collaboration with EA. I don't know if EA helped. They might have just like farted in the office and called it a. I'm really not sure what role EA's played in it, but it's published through EA, who nobody likes, no one has respect for, me included, but I'm happy to say that it is a good battle royale game. At the time of recording this, I have 12 wins and about 15 hours worth of gameplay. I'm basically the fucking Shroud of Apex Legends, if Shroud didn't also play Apex Legends. Now, I don't know if this is something Respawn really was passionate about making, or if EA just shoved their micro dick down the throat of Respawn and forced them to abandon Titanfall to make this one. There's really no telling, but Respawn made a quality battle royale product here. And in this modern day and age, making a battle royale game that doesn't immediately eat shit and die within the first 3 hours of its launch is a fucking accomplishment in and of itself. That's a fucking 100 gamerscore Xbox achievement right there. So the game does have legs to stand on, and I do think it has staying power. When I initially played this game on stream, twitch.tv/moistcritical, about the first 8 hours of it, I considered it a mediocre battle royale game, and honestly, it was very much like a free-to-play Blackout, which is Black Ops 4's battle royale mode. But as I played more, I'm up to about 15-16 hours worth of playtime on it. As I played more and really understood the mechanics more, I see that it's more than a mediocre game. It is a fucking good game, though it is still very much like Blackout. I stand by that assessment, but it is a better battle royale than Blackout. The gunplay is tight, albeit at times seems a bit inconsistent with what it considers a hit, also with what damage does what. Sometimes you'll point blank someone with a shotgun and it'll do 7 damage just off the top, like you just fucking flicked a booger at them. Other times you'll shoot them in the foot and it does 200 damage with the same weapon. It does seem inconsistent with what hits and for what damage, but overall it is very tight and responsive. It's a very rewarding style of play. If you're very aggressive, then you have some classes that can help complement that, like the Pathfinder is very good for some verticality and speed. The Wraith is also very good for some tactical plays to get behind them, use portals and shit. It's a really versatile game using these different classes that all have different abilities. The abilities are kind of similar to, I don't want to say Overwatch shit because it's not even close, but there are abilities here, like in some hero shooters, that really do change the playstyle for each class. One thing that works for one class will not work for another, and it's really nice to figure out what's best suited for your playstyle. You also are forced into 3-man teams, which has its ups and downs. I would like a solo option, but having a 3-man team is nice with the classes because then you can have a nice team comp that complements each other really well and synergizes well. It also has two unique mechanics that solve a lot of problems in battle royale games. The biggest one, the one that I'm a huge fan of that Apex Legends does, is the pinging system. The pinging system allows you to mark an enemy, mark a location you think you guys should go, mark an item you think your team might want, mark where you think a good bush to take a piss behind is. It's a system that allows you to communicate with your team if you don't have a mic, and it's also showing exactly where you want them to look instead of just giving a vague assessment when you're with your boys on Discord, like, hey, there's a man eating a chocolate bar right behind that barrel on the left side, and then everyone's fucking confused because what barrel are you talking about? Here, you ping it and they can see the ping and know exactly what you're talking about. It is a great system that I think every battle royale needs going forward. It is a game changer. Another great system it has is they have a respawn mechanic, and it's a really well thought out one. When you die, you go down. If you get killed while down, you leave behind a banner that your team has a little over a minute to claim. If they claim that banner, they can take it to a respawn location, and they can revive you. It takes a couple of seconds for that to go through, so you're out in the open in this respawn point, and they can another team can take you out, but if no one does or you outfight them, you can get a teammate back. And it's a really great system if you had an unlucky drop and you get fucked in the ass because someone got a better drop than you. And you can just come back if your team's carrying, and it's good to go. It is a great system. Both those two systems are beautiful and really, really work well in this game. Now let's get to some shortcomings in the game. Some of the weapons are just utterly fucking useless, just absolute unmitigated garbage. It's weapons that you should never pick up at any stage of the game. If you were fucking starving in the desert, you came across the Mozambique and you could break it apart for water, just don't even fucking do it. These weapons, such as the Mozambique, do no damage at any range and are just completely fucking useless, and you're better off using your fist or spitting on the enemy. Some weapons are just genuinely awful, absolutely awful, and you're better off not touching them. So I think some weapons need some buffs. I don't really think there's any weapons that are too strong at the moment, except for maybe the Mastiff, but that's a legendary, so it should be pretty rewarding to get. But there are just some weapons that you would never, ever want to pick up. The Alternator, the Mozambique are the two big ones I can think of off the top of my head. And there's also some classes that lag behind the others, some that are just significantly less useful in any composition, such as Caustic. Caustic is a joke. Caustic is a character that's built around gas and gas traps. So his gas traps fucking suck. He just plants a giant water balloon of fart fumes, and it goes off and does literally 1 damage. It poisons them for 1 damage. It's useless. I guess you can use it for tagging enemies, but it's really easy to avoid. It's not a huge area. It's just fundamentally awful for tagging and for also doing damage. The only use that Caustic's traps have is to slow down the enemy by making them laugh. You plant a trap, the enemy team sees it, they stop for a minute to giggle because they know you're a fucking idiot for choosing Caustic. His ult is a giant area of effect gas bomb that all the times I've used it, and I've used it about 10 times now, the most damage I've gotten out of it is 7. It ticks from 1 up to 7, and it's so fucking laughable that I just wanted to quit the game the second I threw it each time. Everything in Caustic's kit is bad. There's no reason any team should ever have Caustic on it, under no circumstances. And the last complaint I have about Apex, and it's nothing that Respawn can help with, is EA. EA's fucking servers crash constantly. You know what, actually I don't know if it's EA, but I'm gonna blame EA because it feels like it's on their side, considering I get origin errors that just kick me out of the game sometimes, kick me back to the main menu, or just cause me to disconnect randomly. I think that's an EA server side issue or some shit. I'm really not positive, but it is a big damper on a good Battle Royale game. Let's go ahead and plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Apex Legends a 75%. I really do think this is one of the best Battle Royale games out at the moment. It is extremely well done, and in 2019, it's something to celebrate that a game comes out and it actually fucking works for the most part. This game runs very well, works very well, and it's a very well-made game, which is rare in this day and age where everything's fucking early access beta. This is a full-release Battle Royale, and it feels like it. It really feels like it. It is a good game, very, very much worth playing if you're a fan of the genre. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Let me go ahead and start this moist meter by confessing a sin. I don't like the Borderlands series. I wasn't a fan of 1 and 2, and I didn't play Tales from the Borderlands, though I caught up on the lore just for this game. That being said, Borderlands 3 is pretty fucking good. Now when I say I don't like the Borderlands series, it's not for lack of getting into it. I beat those games extensively. I beat the shit out of them, up and down, top to bottom. I fucked it in the ass and beat the DLCs as well. I put a lot of hours into the game, but it wasn't because I enjoyed the journey or the game as a whole. It was kind of Stockholm Syndrome and the only game out at the time that my friends and I could casually play together. And I'm happy to say that element's still here. It's still great to play with friends, and I see everyone talk about that when it comes to Borderlands. Oh, it's so fucking fun with your friends. It's so much better with friends. Yeah, they're not wrong, it is. And you know what else is? Literally anything else in the world. Anything is better if you have a group of friends together. If you have a good group, you could watch fucking dog shit get rained on in your backyard and have fun together. You could make even playing the most boring game fun, like 2009 Football Manager Turbo Arcade Edition could be fun if you have a good group of friends playing it. That's not exactly a selling point to a game, in my opinion, saying it's fun with friends, because everything is. The game still needs to be fun on its own, which Borderlands 3 is. It's a very well-made game, top to bottom. The gunplay is satisfying, rewarding, the build diversity is fun, the gun diversity is nice. I think it's a lot better than previous entries where most of the guns just felt like carbon copies with only arbitrary differences between them. Just super trivial shit where there'll be one extra bullet in this gun and also 1 point difference between this and the model you just dropped for it. Whereas in Borderlands 3, shit at least feels pretty impactful. It feels much different than what you just traded for. That's another thing. You're gonna be swapping weapons out like a fucking madman, like going trick-or-treating here with weapons. You're just gonna be having so much shit come in. You'll be having to get rid of shit to make room for new shit, which is nice. It keeps the experience constantly fresh. I think the abilities are a lot more fun this time around. I found myself enjoying that. And I also think the game's environments are much better designed. I think it's a lot prettier than the previous games, only via artistic choices. The game looks exactly the same as Borderlands 2. If you put these side by side, you would not know they weren't the same game. That's not exactly a complaint, that's just the aesthetic of the game. It's not going to matter how much graphics evolved because this shit's staying cel-shaded and it's gonna look pretty much the same. That's its design choice, and I'm fine with that because they made some really nice art choices with a lot of the different places you visit. You visit other worlds, you go to a lot of different things that constantly change the tone of your environment, and I think they all work extremely well. I really enjoyed visiting all of the new locations, and I had a lot of fun exploring through them as well. I also think their enemy design this time around, the character design, the new characters, new enemies they introduce, is incredible. Much better than previous games, and it's just a general high point of this game for me. I enjoyed all of the boss fights for the most part, though they weren't mechanically difficult. I at least thought that it was fun enough with how the character looked and how they fought to make it a memorable boss fight. I also really liked Gigamind. I think he was really fucking cool. That being said, these are most of the compliments I have for the game. Everything else is about to be a negative, so go ahead, Gearbox fans, and grab your dick hard, because I'm coming in a little raw with what I'm about to say. The writing is insufferable for me. I cannot stand the humor in the Borderlands series, and this game is no exception. Characters drone on and on and on, and every sentence is supposed to be a zany, wacky joke, but it just almost never works. There's a couple of good lines throughout the game, but obviously there's going to be when the script is like 70,000 words and it's all jokes, a couple of them are going to land. So it's good that they at least had a couple, but for the most part this shit is stinkers. The jokes don't work. I really found it super grating, especially characters like Ava. Oh my lord, it was insufferable when you had to just sit through dialogue, and if you're just going to beeline the story, that's going to be a lot of dialogue you're sitting through. That's another complaint. The game feels like it wants to be more fast-paced than it's allowing you to be. If you're playing the story missions and you're just going through the story, you're going to be fucking nuts to butts, going hard as shit in all of the fights, jumping, sliding, using all your abilities, chaos everywhere. You'll finish a room and then you have to wait a minute, 2 minutes for a character to finish monologuing with his jokes and explaining the exposition, and then slowly walking up to a door to open it so that we can go to the next room, wipe all the enemies, which is fun, and then you wait another 2 minutes for that character to just very slowly walk his fucking ass cheeks all the way over to the other side of the room and open the next door for you as he's talking and making bad jokes the whole way. Oh my god. It made me so upset because you get in this rhythm where you're playing so fast and you're having a lot of fun, and then it comes to a screeching halt where you get just nothing but slow-moving NPCs that have to come hold your goddamn hand like a lost toddler in a grocery store to lead you to the next corridor for you to blast enemies' shit off. It was frustrating. Now, that problem doesn't exist in most of the side quests that I played through, and I had a lot more fun with the side quests than the main ones. Another thing, the narrative isn't good. The new villains, the twins, they suck. They're bad villains. Most of the characters in the game I think are bad, but that's just because the writing and the humor is so bad. But these villains are another step up. They're just not good at all. And talking about the humor being really more misses than hits, obviously that's subjective. I can see a lot of people, enjoying when they say amazeballs 10 times. But for me, hearing epic amazeballs 10 times makes me want to lay my ears down on a belt sander. It's an assault on the senses with some of these characters and what they say. Like I said, there are a few decent lines and a few decent moments, but overall it just wasn't for me. I get it if you like it, I understand. Just totally not for me. And the good thing about the game is you don't need to understand at all what's going on narratively. You can ignore all of the characters and just enjoy the fun gameplay. And the gameplay is, no doubt, very fun when you get to play it the way you want to play it. Driving is still not good. I don't think Borderlands will ever get driving to a state where it's fun to go from point A to point B. Here's no exception. That's still a chore. That's no fun at all. But unfortunately, what's most insulting about it is you can't skip any of the dialogue or any of the fucking cutscenes. There's no way to speed it up. They're so proud of their jokes and their narrative plot line here that they make you sit through every excruciating second of wacky voices and stupid fucking phrases. So, yeah, I hope you're ready to strap in for that, or you develop a way to tolerate it, or maybe you're just already predisposed to enjoy it. I don't really know. It's just too much. Even if you like it, I can't imagine you liking it the whole time, because at no point does it ever let off the gas. It is always making shit jokes. It makes me so upset. If I could skip the cutscenes or blast through some of the dialogue, oh man, this game would be so much more positive for me. And I do like the game still, all this considered, but man, this game would be so much better for me. And I played it through mostly with Jackson. Jackson has the same complaint. We'd often sigh in unison when a cutscene started, and you got this cool looking villain in front of you, and then they give you this stupid fucking line about them underneath their name. If you're familiar with the series, you know what I'm talking about. They have something about the character, just 1 or 2 lines, and it says some garbage shit like, "Sick burn, bro," which was exactly verbatim one of them for one of the villains that came up. It's just hard not to roll your eyes at it when it just doesn't stop. And the last major complaint I have also ties into this as well. It's the quest design. The quests make you fucking experience so much of this garbage long dialogue that's so tedious. The quests, at least the mainline quests, can sometimes be such chores. There's a quest where you walk from one side of the ship to the other side of the ship to talk to somebody, you walk back to the other side of the ship to talk to that person again, then you walk from that person to the middle of the ship to talk to someone, you talk to that person, run back to the person to the front of the ship to talk to that person, then you talk to that person again, go to the back of the ship. It's just this back and forth fucking awful thing that makes the RuneScape a small favorite quest look absolutely beautiful in comparison. It is miserable. I hated a lot of the quests. Some of them, make no mistake, were very good and very fun, but man, there were some real stinkers that made me just want to stop playing and go take a break or do something else, anything else, except listen to that goddamn dialogue and walk back and forth listening to more of it. But overall, I'd say Borderlands 3 has been a fun game that I have been enjoying. So plugging Borderlands 3 into the moist meter, I'm giving it a nice 80%. I think there is a lot to offer in the game. Obviously, the billion weapons shit is really fun. It's never not satisfying to kill a boss and then he just explodes in this bukkake of colors that have all kinds of weapons, class mods, grenades. It's just a lot of fun, and there's a lot of different and really cool perks and stuff that go on different shit. And I just really find there to be a lot offered by Borderlands 3. So that's about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Battlefield 2042. Now that I've played the game for the last 5 or 6 days, I feel like I can safely give a review of this game now that it's fully released. Overall, I really enjoy the game, but it's got a lot of problems. Playing Battlefield 2042 is a lot like eating ass. It's fun, but it's pretty stinky. I'm going to go ahead and start with things I like about the game. I really like the ability to change attachments in-game. You just hold down T and then you can immediately just start putting on new sights and changing things around on the fly. It's a really nice system. I think that's great. It keeps things fast-paced. I also do like a lot of the new gadgets and a lot of the new things that you're able to do. So the wingsuit for me personally, I think is just amazing, making some big dick plays. I fucking fly around like Batman and get behind the enemy to get like a knife takedown. I also just absolutely love the portal system. I think it is a great idea. It's not fully realized yet, but I think like in a month it'll be pretty refined. Basically, you can go to this portal system and you can choose these servers where you can play like some classic Battlefield experiences. For me, Bad Company 2 is my favorite Battlefield game, and I can go back and play that game. Granted, it's a little different than it was originally, but it's still a lot of fun to revisit that style, and I just think it's a really great idea, and I'm excited to see where that ends up. I think the custom games people will come up with for the portal system are going to be really enjoyable and probably give the game an even longer lifespan. So I think that's just a really exciting idea. I also really appreciate that they didn't bother ham-fisting a campaign into this game. Battlefield stories have been terrible since Bad Company 2, so I'm glad they didn't even bother here. They just said, fuck the campaign, let's focus on what people actually play Battlefield for, which is the multiplayer experience. And I don't know why people were pretending to be upset by the lack of story mode here. I doubt they could name a single character in any Battlefield campaigns, because they're all terribly, forgettably generic. So I think it was a good call not to do that with this one. Now, just overall, if you've ever enjoyed a Battlefield game, you will probably like this one. It is the exact same Battlefield formula you're used to, with only a few minor changes overall. There's nothing they've done here where they wiped their ass with Battlefield and completely changed its identity or anything like that. It is pretty much still the same Battlefield experience. For some people, that's going to be great. For some, it's going to be bad. For me, I'm right in the middle where I enjoy it, but recognize a lot of the problems it has, which we're going to get into now. Let's start with the biggest one so far. The servers almost never work. Across the last 5 or 6 days, I have literally only been able to join official servers for maybe like 6 hours total of my playtime. The rest is spent in the portal system where I'm able to join other people's games. Their servers have not been working. I was only able to play Breakthrough for the first time yesterday. And I like Breakthrough a lot, I really enjoy that mode, but I was unable to play it until yesterday because I would just keep getting kicked out because the servers just couldn't handle it. And keep in mind, this is all like that Ultimate Edition early access, so it's not even like the entire fucking marching band coming into the game on official release, which is today as of making the Moist Meter. I can only imagine those servers are gonna fucking die. They're going to explode. But setting aside the big server problems, there's also just the general problem with the gunplay. The gunplay, and this is a weird thing to say in an FPS, the gunplay just doesn't work sometimes. And it's a bug they've acknowledged from what I've read. When you're using a fully automatic weapon, there's random bullet spread everywhere. So you'll be looking at a guy, you'll both be having a little staring contest, and you're trying to pop him in his little braces, but for some reason, the bullets are just going wild and wacky as if they're just made out, like you're just shooting wet noodles. Like they're just being carried by the wind everywhere. And it has nothing to do with tap firing versus full auto, because if you tap fire, you're still getting random bullet spread. With DMRs, you're still getting random bullets firing in all kinds of goofy directions. It's apparently a bug right now, but it's super frustrating that the gunplay isn't tight on release. I feel like that's something that they would have noticed immediately when playtesting this game. Like, hey, boys, our guns in the game, yeah, they don't work right now. Let's go ahead and tune that up. But I guess that got overlooked somewhere along the pipeline. That's why right now I think the top tier weapon is the PP. You get your little PP out, it's an SMG, and it's the only one that's really not affected by extreme bullet spread, which is why most people are cruising around with that gun. Everything else just has an absurd amount of random bloom and bullet spread. It's a fucking headache. And speaking of headaches, another really frustrating bug in the game right now is the revive bug, where you cannot be revived if you go down near an object. So let's say you're popping dick off, you just wiped the whole squad, but all of a sudden your butthole gets popped by a sniper, and you go down right next to a door. Your team can't revive you because you're too close to that door. And that goes for anything. Like, let's say you go down near a piece of debris, like a tank just got blown up and its carcass is next to you and you happen to go down. You can't be revived because you're too close to that. And it's not something that only happens occasionally. This is every single time. This is another bug I don't understand how it ever made it to the live game. Because every time you go down near something, your team can't revive you. I can't count the number of times I've been with my whole squad and I get sniped, and then they just fucking stare at me, and then they come over and try and revive me, but they just end up like teabagging me because they're trying to find the prompt to revive me, but it doesn't exist because it's glitched. I'm too close to, you know, a fucking piece of bubblegum that's on the battlefield. Like, you have to be completely isolated from everything around you in order to be revived. If there is even like a shell casing near you, you will not be able to be revived by your team. It's super frustrating, and it makes me mad at my teammates, even though I know it's not their fault, because I'm just down in front of them, they're just staring at me like they got the defibrillator out, and they're just looking at each other like, well, nothing we can do here. Can't you see? He went down right next to some old guy's shoe that was left on the battlefield. Hey, out of our hands now. I just can't imagine how this bug actually slipped into the full game here, because it happens every single time you go down near anything. It's so silly. Unfortunately, there is a lot of other bugs in the game as well. There was even one so bad that it would give you invincibility pretty much, where one of the characters, I think it was Dozer's his name, he had this shield where you could basically just be immortal. It would have you come into the game as the fucking Juggernaut. You were able to put that shield on and make yourself impossible to get killed. And when they re-enabled that gadget, it was still broken, where you could just get shot point blank by a tank shell and not die. So, like, there's a lot of things in here, a lot of these bugs that I don't understand how they ever made it. Because they're, like, completely obvious, glaring issues that are somehow still present in the game. There's also a huge issue with rubber banding in games. A lot of the servers are laggy, even when you do go to the official ones. There's a lot of desync problems. Really, there is a lot of jank to this game. Like I said, I still am enjoying it overall, but I have to point out these problems. And these are things that people are absolutely going to notice and feel. And I think in particular, the thing that's going to make people the angriest is that random bloom and bullet spread. I think people are going to be really upset at how inconsistent the gunplay feels during an intense firefight. I really like the pacing of the game, especially in Breakthrough. So you're going to get in these close quarters fights, or even maybe even medium long range fights, and you're just going to lose due to no fault of your own, just because bullets decided to, go to a different fucking dimension on their journey to their target. So that's definitely the biggest one that I'd like to point out. I also don't like the UI in this game very much. It's very confusing. It's also really counterintuitive. I just don't like the UI at all in this game. And I also don't really see the point of these class specialists. There's no reason for them. Pretty much every character in this game can do exactly the same thing. Everyone's a medic, everyone's an engineer, everyone can do all of the same things. The only difference between these classes, these specialists, is that one ability, like the wingsuit I mentioned, which is cool, I do enjoy that. But at that point, why not just make it one soldier you play as and you can just choose the wingsuit as well as the other shit? Because literally, there's only one difference that separates these classes from each other. Everything else, they can all do the same shit. It's not like in other Battlefield games where, I've brought up Bad Company 2 a lot already. Bad Company 2, you'll have the recon class who's focused on sniping as well as spotting. You'll have the medic class who's focused on healing and reviving, and those are what they specialize in. In this game, any class can do those things. Every class is a jack of all trades. There's nothing that they specialize in that is impactful. They just have one different ability. So really, what was the point of even having that system in the first place? And now let's talk about the maps. The maps I don't think are awful, but they're not good either. The maps are super, super open, especially compared to older Battlefield maps. Everything just feels like it's a giant box with a few hills, and there's only a couple ways of approaching a firefight. Almost all of the fights you're gonna have are just out in the open. There's not a whole lot of intricacies to the map. You're never gonna really have a lot of really memorable firefight moments. It's just gonna be hey, I found this hill and I shot that guy on that hill, or we were both on this open road and we shot each other and I happened to win because my blue RNG was better. I just don't think the maps complement a really fun style of gameplay, and I just think there's a huge problem with the size of the maps. The maps are just way too big. They added more players here, it's 64v64, but the maps are just too fucking big. Running from point A to point B will genuinely take 6 real-world minutes at full sprint if you can't spawn in a vehicle. It takes so long, so get ready to run around a lot, because that's going to be the bulk of your gameplay in a round. But once you do get there, it won't be hard to find people, which is nice. It's just, goddamn, it takes a while to get there. So, I don't think the maps are the worst in the Battlefield series, but they're definitely not that great either. So let's go ahead and plug Battlefield 2042 into the moist meter. I'm giving it a 65% in its current state. I really do think in 3 or 6 months from now, this game's going to be extremely good. It's just right now, it's so rough. It feels like they rushed to get this game out as quickly as possible with some glaring issues that needed to be addressed. Because it's going to put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth here. There's no doubt in my mind. But like I said, I have been enjoying the game even in spite of all these problems. And I think the portal system has a lot of potential to be an extremely fun tool. And I'm excited to see where that goes. But yeah, there's a lot of bugs and problems that need to be fixed in the game. And hopefully we'll get to that pretty soon.
Hey guys, Jackson here. Let's talk about Helix mattresses. I'm sure you've all heard the saying that a mattress is the most important thing you'll ever buy. And think about it. You sleep almost half your life, so why wouldn't you want to invest in something that makes you comfortable for almost 50% of your existence? That's where Helix mattresses come in with their amazingly comfortable, specifically designed mattresses. You can go to their website, take their Helix sleep quiz, and be told which mattress is the best fit for you. It takes your answers and matches your unique body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress. Take this for example. I'm a side sleeper who prefers a medium mattress, and they matched me with the midnight mattress, and boy oh boy, was it a comfortable thing to lay on. I had never slept so well, and woken up with so few back pain, until Helix arrived at my door. Speaking of delivery, Helix delivers your mattress right to your doorstep for free. It comes rolled up in a box and it's super easy to set up for yourself. If it makes you nervous to buy a mattress you've never tried before, Helix comes with a 100-night sleep trial, so you can get more than 3 months of practice in to make sure that you love it. If you don't, they'll pick it up for you and you'll get a full refund. Helix is great and I think you'll agree. If you're looking for a new bed, check out Helix. You can click on the link below or go to helixsleep.com/moist and get up to $200 off your Helix mattress.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Sifu, a game that really makes you feel like a fucking idiot for being bad at it. The game is extremely difficult, and because of this, for some reason people compare it to Dark Souls, as always, because apparently Dark Souls invented difficulty, but this game has pretty much nothing in common with Dark Souls. I want to set that record straight now, but it is a super difficult game that focuses around some great martial arts and some really interesting gameplay design choices that I really appreciated. I thought the entire experience was fantastic, albeit a very short one. They say that the star that burns brightest burns out quickest or some shit like that. Probably not even applicable here, but the game is great, but not for very long. It took me just under 8 hours to get every single ending in the game, and the game's priced at $40, and I absolutely think you get your money's worth with it. There's only 5 levels, but depending on how good you are at the game, that could take you 8 hours, which is roughly what it took me, or it could take you 30 hours if you really suck dog shit at the game. There's a very good chance. There was a lot of streamers playing the game that ended up rage quitting because they had a really difficult time on level 2 and never even got to the end. The game will challenge you, but it's fun. It never really feels like it's unfair. Sometimes the camera is pretty shitty. I think that's one of my major complaints. When you're in the middle of a fight and trying to manage a bunch of enemies that are all trying to beat your ass and you're trying to beat and eat their ass too, sometimes the camera will just betray you and get locked into like a wall or something, and then you just take some free damage and just get blasted. So that was frustrating, but it's not like the biggest, most prevalent issue that's super common. It just happens sometimes in tight corridors. So let's really get into it. I think the aesthetic is fantastic. I think the game oozes style. The martial arts looks and feels great. The combat system is pretty reminiscent of like free flow combat from the Arkham series, but with its own unique identity to it, where it doesn't really play the same as those games, but you can at least see that they're comparable, just to give you a general idea of how the combat's going to feel. But it is a truly unique experience. I haven't played gameplay quite like this. Apparently it's very much like Absolver, which is, this makes sense because it's the same developers, but I didn't play Absolver. So this was very fresh to me and I really enjoyed it. It felt great. It looked great. There was a ton of different skills that you could unlock, and they were all really cool. Some of them a little goofy, like there's a little slap one you can do while you're backing up, and I'm sure it has its uses, but from what I experienced, it didn't really play much of a role. It was just kind of like, I want to disrespect this guy, so I'll slap him across the face with my skill here. So I really think there's just so much to like about the game. There's weapons in it too, and the weapons will give you an advantage, but they have limited durability, so use them wisely, and who you want to just obliterate, just fucking clobber with them. And if you get hit by an enemy's weapon, kiss your youth goodbye, because that shit is ending you on the spot. It does so much damage to get hit by an enemy's weapon, and that's a big thing here. The game is challenging, and enemies do a lot of damage to you. And there's a really unique system here, where you start the game at 20 years old, and let's say you die. Well, instead of just like restarting from a checkpoint or restarting the whole level, you can revive yourself, but it adds an extra year to your age. So now you revive and you're 21 years old. You just stand up and now you got fucking gray hair sprouting from your face and you're ready to keep beating ass. And that's its system that I think is really cool. So you can keep reviving all the way up until you hit 70 years old, and then if you died there, well, that's game over. Then you're going to have to restart. And I think it's just a cool system, and it stacks. So if you die again at 21, well, now it's going to add 2 years, so now you're coming back at 23, and so on and so forth. You can shave years off, not by using like biotin or Botox or whatever, but by killing strong enemies. They will take a year off, so when you die, instead of adding 2, it'll only add 1, but you never go backwards in age. So if you hit 26, you can never go back to 25. It's a really cool system that keeps it fresh, and there's these marks you'll hit, like when you go to 30, you do more damage, but your health decreases. 40, even more damage, lower health. 50, same story. So as you age, you're doing more damage, but taking more damage at the same time. Very cool system, and I really appreciated it. It's just, there was so much depth to its combat. It just never got stale. at all. And it is challenging. It's going to challenge most people because parrying in this game is tight. It is very strict timing, and it's going to be tough for people to get a grasp on it. It took me all the way till the final boss to really start nailing parrying, because the final boss is a big skill check. You're going to really need to master parrying if you're ready to take on the final boss and really want to make a good run out of it. So parrying is something that's difficult. There are dodging options as well, but it's not like it's a great get out of jail free card where you can just dodge everything and be okay using iframes. That is also pretty tight. You can't just spam it. Of course, there are ways to cheese some of the bosses, but it takes out a lot of the fun if you do that approach, I would argue. It's just a really fun game. The gameplay just feels good, and I love the challenge, and I love the unique system with the aging. It just all works. I also really just appreciated the levels themselves because I thought they were very fun in their design. They draw obvious references to martial arts movies or scenes. For example, the very first level, when you're going through like a tight hallway in a hotel, you'll notice that it's very similar to like The Raid Redemption, you know? You'll be able to notice like, hey, this kind of reminds me of that scene from this fucking badass movie where they were using martial arts. Level 2, there's the club, and it seems pretty reminiscent of the John Wick club scene. And I think it's on purpose, obviously. I think it's a nod to those properties, and I just appreciate it. And even if I'm wrong and it's not, it just happens to be kind of similar in its appearance, it's still great level design. It's still fun to navigate those levels. And a fun thing about the gameplay mechanic itself that I haven't mentioned when it comes to going through these levels is if you do game over and you go back to the beginning of the level, there are things that you can get throughout that are like little key cards or keys themselves that act as shortcuts. So when you restart the level, you might not have to go through the whole thing. You can instead just open a door that was previously locked. Also, when it comes to skills, if you game over, those skills don't carry over unless you unlock them 5 times as a permanent unlock in your arsenal. So there's just a lot of depth to it, and it was just super fun. It really was. The bosses I thought were all great in their design, except for the fourth boss. The fourth boss was surprisingly just super easy, just a big pushover. Really, the whole fourth level was kind of weak. Levels 1 through 3 were fantastic, and the third boss was an absolute pain in the ass, a genuine nightmare. I think the third boss is the hardest in the game. And then you go to the fourth boss, and it's Weenie Hut Jr. All of the fourth level is about just fighting through a pretty bland environment before you get to a pretty underwhelming boss fight. So level 4 wasn't great, but then level 5 picks everything back up and brings that life back, and the final boss is super satisfying. And I guess it's time to talk about the narrative. I didn't really get drawn into the story very much. I think there was a lot of lore that I may have missed, even getting all the endings. I think there were still some key story elements that I didn't pick up on because I didn't think it was that compelling or that interesting. I was never motivated to hunt down the 5 people for revenge. I just never felt really attached to the character or anything like that. Not that I think I was supposed to. It seems like the narrative was pretty bare bones in order to just keep the story moving and getting you beating some ass. So it served its purpose, but it's nothing special either. Plugging Sifu into the moist meter, I'm giving it a nice 90%. I think this is just a great game, takes some risks, and I think they all pay off, and I think it's just an absolutely wonderful experience, like I really do. And I also appreciated that it's put at the $40 mark instead of $60, even though I think this could have easily been marketed and pushed as a $60 game because it is that good. I do appreciate that it's the lower price point because there's only 5 levels to it. If you're really good at the game, you could probably beat all 5 levels in like 2, maybe 3 hours. For example, when I went back to do the all true ending, you have to spare bosses, and to spare a boss, you basically have to break them twice. So I had to go through every boss again, and it only took me about an hour and a half to do all 5 bosses to get that true ending. So I basically speedran the game in an hour and a half, whereas previously it took me like 6.5 hours or so to do it. So yeah, if you're good at the game, you can really blast through all of the content that it has to offer quickly, but you'll still enjoy it every second of the way. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah.
This episode was brought to you by Manscaped.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Let's just go ahead and dive right in here and spread these ass cheeks apart. I'm going to divide this into 3 sections: campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. Campaign is actually really good. I know for like the last 5 years, everyone says the campaign to Call of Duty is actually good this time around, and then I play it and I totally fucking forget every single character's name the second after the credits roll because they're not very good. This year, it is actually very good. The campaign was super fun and actually very different from previous entries into the franchise. So it's not long. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, there's only about 4 hours worth of glory here before she blows her load, so you're not going to get a whole lot of content out of the campaign, but you get like 4 to 5 hours of actually really enjoyable content. Now, it's actually probably closer to 5, maybe 6 if you do every side quest, but if you're just going for like the core story, you can blast through it in like 4. It is really fun. It's very different in the way that there's side missions, which I don't think Call of Duty even knew existed until this game, and it is really fleshed out. They have a compelling story with interesting characters, some that you'll recognize, and it's just super well put together. It's well written, it's beautiful to look at, the cutscenes are thrilling and great. There's really only one downside I even have about the campaign is sometimes you have to get on a turret for those boring-ass static turret sections that every shooter has, but, I mean, every shooter has them, and they're always boring, so it's nothing, like, unique to this game. I just wish they had done away with that shit. But what they did actually get away from, and the best decision Call of Duty has made in the last 10 years in terms of its campaign, is getting away from doing those tedious fucking missions where you just stand in one place and defend it for 10 minutes from waves of enemies. There is nothing more mind-numbingly boring. The only challenge there is not falling asleep during those sections of those games. It is so fucking awful. And you know exactly what kind of objectives I'm talking about. In old Call of Duty campaigns, every mission would have 1 or 2 sections where you and your team were ordered to go to this fucking abandoned computer in this dilapidated warehouse full of syringes where you have to download the Applebee's menu onto a flash drive. You have to sit there and defend it as it downloads slowly from 0 to 100%, defending it from waves of enemies. And it's terrible. It's absolutely awful. You're just sitting there, snot leaking out of your nose, drooling, praying any wave will be the last one until you're finally done from that purgatory, that fucking hell. In this game, there's not a single one of those that I can recall. I take that back. There is one that I can recall, and it only lasts for about 2 minutes, and it's at the very end of an extremely good mission, so I forgive it. I am so glad there weren't very many of these. It was such a refreshing breath of air. It is so nice that in this game they actually prioritized just delivering a full nuts to butts narrative and high action combat experience, and I really appreciate it. And not every mission is the same, running guns, shooting titties all over the place. There's actually some stealth missions that are really well put together and kind of like almost a pseudo open world at one section where you can like go explore and find some other shit. Really, every mission has places that you can explore, find information that'll give you a new side mission that you can pursue at the evidence board. It's just really good and surprising. There's one section, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's actually some very interesting elements at play here, so I really like the campaign. I really did, and I was super surprised that I did. I didn't expect it at all, and it lives up to the hype. The campaign in Cold War actually fucking bangs. And now we move into the multiplayer where things get real dirty. I'm talking this game is a dirty asshole when it comes to multiplayer. It's not fun. I like the gunplay in Modern Warfare. I thought that was at least a little different, and even though it prioritized, or you benefited more from slower gameplay in it because the maps were fucking dog shit, this game takes it way back to the basics. Like, it feels like I'm playing a Call of Duty game from 8 years ago. It is the most generic Call of Duty has been in a long time. The gameplay in the multiplayer, like the actual gunplay and all that, is so generic. It's painful. It is so bland. It's like biting into styrofoam every single time you play a match in multiplayer. I didn't like it, like, at all. There's really no compliments I can give it. There's only 8 maps in the whole multiplayer or some shit like that. There's just not a lot of content when it comes to the multiplayer gameplay. The dirty bomb shit that they added, that's not fun. There's really no fun to be had if you're just playing competitive multiplayer. And you can't even call it competitive because there's no ranking system, so the whole game is basically casual with skill-based matchmaking, which makes no fucking sense. I know a lot of Twitter warriors, FPS warriors on Twitter like to get into a debate about skill-based matchmaking, and I think it's the dumbest debate of all time because it's stupid. Skill-based matchmaking in a game with no ranking system is the dumbest shit in the world. It's like having cereal, but instead of using milk with the cereal, you use nails. Every single game is basically a ranked game, but with no reward for it, so what the fuck is the point in making everyone play against sweaty players that are their own skill rating? What needs to happen, and what was solved in 2004 with Halo 2, is you have a ranked system, a ranked gameplay area, where every time you play ranked, you get levels, you rank up, you get certain things. League of Legends, you go from bronze, silver, gold, and you're playing against people your own level. That's the best way of doing skill-based matchmaking, not having the whole game be a blanket skill-based matchmaking where there's never anything casual. That's just not fun, and it makes no sense. Even casual players can't really enjoy that. See, what happens in a game, like let's take League for example, if you join into a casual game as a shitty player in League and you get stomped and paired against challenger players and your whole entire existence just gets blasted wide open by them, what you'll likely do is go to a ranked game mode where you're going to play against people in bronze division, play against people your own level. So basically then the bad players will play ranked because they're playing people their own level instead of going into casual. It's a problem that solves itself. You don't need a full skill-based matchmaking system across the entire board of the game. It's stupid, especially when there's no ranking system to reward playing at this high level. If you're a good player and you're only playing against good players, you get nothing in return. It's just dumb. It's really fucking dumb. To not have just a casual playlist where it's just totally random like it has been for the last 20 fucking years makes no sense. I don't know why they're trying to reinvent the wheel here, but they're not just trying to reinvent the wheel, they're literally destroying the fucking wheel and hitting it with sledgehammers. The skill-based matchmaking system with no ranked is dumb. It's just objectively dumb. There's no debate to have here. All that being said, I was absolutely meat hammering everyone I played against in this game. 100%. So the skill-based matchmaking system, I just don't even think it fucking works. I was going literally 50 and 15 in most of these goddamn games. But it's just not fun. The game is not fun. I did have some challenging matches. I was clearly exaggerating. I definitely had some real slugfest challenging matches where I played like absolute shit. But no matter when you're doing great or doing poorly, it's just not very fun. It's a boring game. This game is like a parody of Call of Duty. Like if someone was trying to emulate Call of Duty 8 years ago, this is the game they would have made. The multiplayer is just not enjoyable. Now we move on to the last component of Black Ops Cold War, which is zombies. And zombies, as it has been for a long time, is still very enjoyable. I have zero fucking complaints about zombies. I never really do. The gameplay, the game mode is just really fun. And I do like this lore they build up, their Easter egg. I really just like pretty much everything about zombies. It's the perfect blend of being able to just play it for fun, kick back, shoot the shit, and just, kill some zombies here and there. And there is a very high skill ceiling where you can make a lot of cool shit happen in the game mode and do a lot of really impressive cool shit. Zombies still bangs. I have no complaints about it. It's a little bit different from previous entries, but it's not overly different. I don't know why people are going wild about how big the changes are, because, I guess I'm not like a hardcore zombies guy. I don't really notice any massive sweeping changes to zombies. It's still just as fun as I would have expected it to be. And that really covers it all of zombies. If you like zombies in any of the other games, you're going to like it here. If you didn't like it in any of the other games, I don't think it's going to win you over here, but it's still just a good time, I'd say. So, taking all of this into consideration, plugging Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War into the moist meter, I'm giving it a 70%. And 70% you're probably saying is kind of low, because I really like the campaign and I like zombies. The only thing I didn't like was the multiplayer. But you have to understand, Call of Duty is built around its multiplayer. That's really what most people play it for. No one really plays Call of Duty for the campaigns. That'd be very silly. I don't think a single person like that exists. Maybe I'm wrong, but this one just happens to have a great campaign there. It's not very long, but it's still a great campaign. And zombies is just a fun mode to kick back with friends on, but I don't think anyone's buying Call of Duty for zombies either. When someone buys Call of Duty, I imagine it's for the multiplayer, and the multiplayer here is just not very good. It is really bland and very boring. And that's really just about it. It's holiday season, and you know what that means. It's time to trim the sacred bush, and the only way to really make sure that the job gets done efficiently and safely is by using Manscaped. Manscaped.com has all of the products that you need to keep yourself looking your best, feeling your best, becoming a real man. And when it comes to trimming your balls, your stinky putrid balls like mine, you need something that is both powerful and isn't going to rip your entire dick off. And that's why they have the Lawnmower 3.0, which comes with skin-safe technology so you're not accidentally hurting yourself, eviscerating yourself down there, and it is extremely efficient at what it does. I've never had an injury with it when prior I had a couple injuries using other devices. So far, the Lawnmower 3.0 has been taking good care of me. And you can also get the Perfect Package Kit 3.0 2.0, which comes with some anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer so you ain't stinking down there. Really, Manscaped just has everything you need to be your best. So if you're interested in trying Manscaped products this holiday season, you can go to manscaped.com/moist to get 20% off and free shipping. That's manscaped.com/moist for 20% off and free shipping.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. After spending a good chunk of time in the multiplayer, I feel comfortable now finally giving a full review on both the campaign and the multiplayer. So let's start with the campaign. The amount of praise I've seen for this game is truly blowing my mind. I feel like I've just started boofing crazy pills because I don't see it as the best first-person shooter story ever told. People are talking about the campaign as if it's on par with Lord of the Rings storytelling. And it's not bad, I don't want anyone to think I hate the campaign or anything, I just don't find it to be special. The visuals I find extremely impressive. The visuals in the campaign actually were really surprising to me, and the story was competent. Like, it was a fun story, it was engaging, the characters were pretty good. A lot of the set pieces were really exciting, especially when you're like hanging upside down, shooting at cars, and then jumping car to car. It was just pretty fun overall. And they finally did away with that standard Call of Duty campaign formula where you go to point A and then just hold it for 5 waves of enemies doing nothing but putting your fingers up your ass while you just mindlessly shoot these waves coming at you. They finally don't rely on that for every single mission as every single objective. Of course, there is still a couple of moments where that's there, but it's used much more sparingly than other Call of Duty titles. There is, of course, those times where it's like, hey, Soap, go sit in this field and kill these 5 waves while I hack this toaster for the sake of America's safety. And you'll roll your eyes, but you'll do it, and then the next moment is a lot more fun. Like, the campaign I really don't have huge complaints of, except the ending. The ending has to be the worst Call of Duty campaign ending ever. It just abruptly ends as if they just ran out of time or forgot that they had to finish the campaign before the game shipped out. So it just fucking comes to a screeching halt. It's not cinematic. It's not satisfying. It's just 1 second, the enemy's there, the next second, they're not. I'm trying not to spoil it, and then once the enemy's not there, they're at a bar celebrating, and nothing in between. It's so underwhelming. The post-credit scene is hype as fuck, but the actual ending is absolute dog shit. But everything up till the ending in the campaign I thought was fine, with a lot of like actually fun moments that I appreciated. But again, I don't find it to be special. I don't think it's done anything particularly new or interesting. I just find it to be pretty good, and by Call of Duty standards, much better than most of their recent attempts. But again, overall, it's just kind of like ordering a pizza from Papa John's. It's good, and that's about it. Nothing like you're gonna be wiggling your finger about years from now, like, God damn, that was the best campaign ever. But for Call of Duty, it's good. Now let's move on to the multiplayer component. I hope you're sitting down, because if you're not, this news is gonna blow you off your feet. It's pretty much exactly what you'd expect. The same standard Call of Duty experience that you're used to getting over the last decade, you get here. So if you're a fan of Call of Duty multiplayers, you're going to be a fan of this Call of Duty multiplayer as well. The big problem with Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer is half the time it doesn't fucking work. I've had a ton of game crashes now, and sometimes I just can't even get a server to load for me, and this is a well-known problem right now with the game apparently. A lot of people are having performance issues as well as crashing. I imagine it'll be fixed in a pretty short period of time, but as of making the Moist Meter, it's in a pretty broken state. But when you're actually in the game, it's pretty standard, safe, by the numbers. I saw someone say something that's scarily accurate to how I feel about it, where they said that the multiplayer feels like it's designed more by an AI algorithm than actual designers, and I think that's very true. I believe that was Level Cap Gaming that said that, and he's absolutely right. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's what people want. This game, Modern Warfare 2, just goes through the checklist of everything Call of Duty players ask for, and it delivers. It gives them the exact experience they want, all of the game modes they want, all the maps being, pretty simple maps. There's really no standout maps here, nor is there any maps that I was absolutely beating my head against a wall in pain from how miserable I was playing the maps. They're all just serviceable. There's no big ones that really blew me away. There's none that really made me upset on how stinky they were either. Everything here is just very safe. The gunplay feels as tight as it always has. It feels exactly the same as it did in Modern Warfare 2019, just a little slower. And I think the pacing of the game is just a bit slower than 2019, but even that's not like a super big deal or that noticeable to most people, I can't imagine. It's just exactly what you're expecting from Call of Duty. The only big issue I have with it is I feel like it takes way too long to actually level up your guns to get shit you want. For example, your first sniper rifle, you have to get level 20 in the gun in order to even unlock the optics on it, and that's just absurd. It takes like 6 hours of grinding just to change your fucking scope on that bitch, and that is frustrating. The only way to like reliably quickly level these weapons up is using double XP tokens. And I'm dropping like 30 kills a game with these fucking snipers, and it was still taking me like 6 hours just to hit level 20 on that thing. I feel like they went a little hard on the grind aspect of it, but the game, like the core game, is exactly what you're expecting. I guess except for one thing, and I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the time to kill is much quicker in this one than Modern Warfare 2019. Like in this game, I feel like if you blow a kiss towards an enemy you're looking at, they're going to insta-die. It only takes 2 shots from some pistols to kill you, and not even headshots. Like, you just die instantly. It's like you're just walking around as just like this fragile scarecrow that's just one strong breeze away from death. I don't remember it being that quick with the time to kill in Modern Warfare 2019, but it's also been a little while since I played that one, so maybe it was the same there too. But that was just something that stood out to me as a little odd, how easily people go down in this one. So just wanted to put that out there. But let's talk about another thing that a lot of people debate on with this game, and that's the skill-based matchmaking. So I'm sure all of you have heard of this now. I'm sure you're all familiar with the debate. Skill-based matchmaking is something that most people think of when it comes to ranked, where you're playing against people of equal skill level. The better you get, the better your lobbies are. So you're always playing against people on equal footing. This is always something people think of for ranked and ranked exclusive, because when you're playing in the competitive game mode, you're expecting people of similar skill level because it's competitive. You're always going to be going up against people in your same bracket of skill. But in Modern Warfare 2, even playing just casual matches, just quick playing with the boys, has a skill-based matchmaking component to it where you're not entering lobbies with babies that just got this game for Christmas or something. You're in there with grizzled, seasoned Call of Duty men at your equal skill level. So the argument is it makes it less fun for content creators and just players in general because you're always having to sweat even in the casual lobbies. Why not keep skill-based matchmaking to the competitive mode? And I just want to quickly weigh in on this. I don't really give a fuck one way or the other. Even when you're in casual and playing against people on equal footing, you don't have to try hard. You don't have to sweat. You can still be casual about it. You might not drop 50 kills, but it doesn't need to be taken super seriously either. But I also think the solution to make everyone happy is even easier. Why not just make 3 modes? So you have skill-based matchmaking in competitive, you have skill-based matchmaking in casual, and then you have a separate mode where it's casual again, but without skill-based matchmaking, and you can just queue into that if you want. To me, that just seems like the easiest solution and a really easy one to implement all around, where if you just want like a full-blown casual Weenie Hut Jr. experience, you queue into casual, no skill-based matchmaking. If you're playing with your friends and you're not confident in their skill level, but you still want somewhat of a challenge, you queue into casual skill-based matchmaking. And then if you really want to sweat and grind, that's when you go to competitive, where of course the skill-based matchmaking is there as well. Just 3 modes for 3 very different playstyles depending on your mood. I just think that makes everyone happy, and I don't know why that's not like a proposed solution, because I think it just should be. So yeah, I just want to toss that out there, but that's really how I feel about the multiplayer overall. Nothing blew me away, nothing disappointed me. It's a lot better than Vanguard. I just really think this is an improvement over Vanguard in every way. So if you're currently still playing Vanguard, I see no reason why you wouldn't switch to this, except for the $70 price tag on this bad boy. But I guess I do have to admit there is a lot of content here. Content that I'm not ever going to touch again. For example, like the Spec Ops thing. I really don't care about doing PvE with my friends. I really just don't give a fuck about that. If I'm playing Call of Duty, it's because I want to go into the arcade multiplayer and just turn my brain off and have some fun. Dropping like 40 kills, getting some fun kill streaks, just going a little hog wild out there. I'm not there to do any PvE. Once I play through the campaign once, I don't touch it ever again. And there's some good game modes in the multiplayer that I do think will keep me playing at least on and off casually. Ground War I do think has a lot of potential. It feels pretty decent. The maps are really huge, but they're not bad. Like at first I was struggling to find people, but the more I played Ground War, the more easy it became to find loads of people and just go like absolutely wild on them. I also don't like Invasion. I don't think Invasion's any good. But there are other game modes that I do think are interesting. For example, there's third person mode here, which really is super different and weird for Call of Duty in a neutral way. I don't hate it, I don't love it, but I am still trying it because it strikes me as just very interesting. So there's just a lot of content here, and overall, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. It's exactly kind of what I was expecting from Call of Duty, but with a campaign that was a little above my expectations. So plug in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 into the Moist Meter. I'm just going to give it a pretty clean 75%. It's just extremely safe. There's nothing wrong with it aside from all of these day one bugs that make it like unplayable at certain times, but I imagine those will get fixed soon. And other than that, everything else is just pretty standard. That's about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at a real grizzled elite gamer status hardcore game, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. From Software's newest game, let me go ahead and say Souls-like games are my favorite games out there. It's among my favorite genres. I've played literally every big budget Souls-like game, including Lords of the Fallen and The Surge, which a lot of you fake pussy-ass gamers seem to have skipped over. I was out there putting nuts to butts on those games, and I still enjoyed those. I fucking love the genre, and I'm happy to say Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice is a beautiful entry into it, gave me some fat boners, and now it's time to share that hard penis with you and what my thoughts on the game were. Now, I think most people were expecting Sekiro to be Dark Souls clone, Dark Souls in a different coat of paint, a Trojan horse for Dark Souls just in a different time period, and it's not. This is a very mechanically different game from the Souls series, and that's a good thing. They explored different ways of combat, and I think for the most part it flows and works really well, and I don't think anyone's surprised to learn that Sekiro is a good game. From Software really fucking kills it in this genre, and they really did try and innovate in this one, and I think for the most part they did something very unique. It's not an overly different game from the Souls games. If you've played the series, you're going to feel right at home in here. It's immediately recognizable as a Souls-like game, but it plays very different. For instance, in Souls-like games, typically you rely on dodging as your primary method of avoiding damage. Sometimes you'll block, sometimes you'll parry, but primarily you're going to be dodging. In this game, dodging isn't that useful. Primarily, you're going to be focusing on deflecting and breaking your enemy's posture. That's a new thing they added, is the posture system. The more you attack, the more they block, the more you block, the more you deflect, the more damage you're doing to their posture and the more damage you're taking to your posture. If you break their posture, even if you haven't taken down all their health, you get to use a finisher on them. And it's fucking satisfying, and it makes it very strategic. Each fight seems like a really impressive showdown between two highly skilled swordsmen. And trust me, as an avid Reddit user neckbeard, I understand the ways of the blade, and it really feels like a real sword fight. They fucking nailed it here. Especially when it comes to one-on-one with like a mini-boss, a strong enemy, or a boss. One-on-one in this game just feels so fucking great. Now, the difficulty is what a lot of people are debating on. Is Sekiro easier than Dark Souls? And my answer is, I'm not sure. I really can't tell. The game is certainly more forgiving. Sekiro has idols, basically this game's bonfires, all over the place. You can't walk 10 fucking feet without running into an idol. You could stop, take a piss at one of the idols, then walk downstairs and find another idol. A great example of this is in Ashina Castle. At the top level, after you defeat a boss, you unlock an idol. You go downstairs and you immediately get another idol. So you have an idol on one floor and on the floor below it, literally about 10 feet apart. They give you so many idols. Also, death isn't as punishing as it is in Dark Souls. You lose some of your sin, which is your currency, and then half of your XP as well. But really, neither one were that big of a deal in my playthrough. Losing the sin didn't exactly feel as devastating as getting like rejected the prom or anything. Neither did losing the XP, because you can get it back pretty easily. Plus, when it comes to losing XP, you never drop a level. So let's say you start at level 2 in your skill points, and you die 50 fucking times, you just get ass blasted 50 times, you never go back to level 1, you still stay at that benchmark right there. So death, I think, is a little more forgiving in this than the Souls series, where you lose all your souls and you get kind of fucked hard sometimes. This one, you never really feel like you're getting face fucked by death. You can kind of just keep charging at it. If you, let's say you spend all your sin, you can kind of just keep charging at a hard enemy or a hard horde and just fucking meatballing your way through. Just fucking keep dying, just keep wet noodling it and never have to worry about it, because it's not that big of an issue. The only thing is, if you do die, you have an option of resurrecting, and the resurrection causes dragon rot, which will lower your unseen aid, which is another mechanic in the game, and also inflict your NPCs with what's called dragon rot, which makes some quest lines inaccessible. So that can definitely be a hindrance, but you can get rid of dragon rot, and you can choose when you get rid of dragon rot based on when you use the item to get rid of it. I think all of these mechanics work really well, but overall make it a more forgiving Souls-like game. For some people that's a positive, for others it's a negative. For me, I was neutral on it because it's still just a fun fucking game. Now, one thing I really have to critique on the game is the camera. The camera betrayed me more times than I can fucking count, especially indoors. Indoors in an enclosed space, sometimes it'll just take the lock off of the enemy and it'll throw itself into like a goddamn toilet somewhere, just get lost in the shitter. You can't see anything and you just get absolutely clobbered, and by no fault of your own, just some spotty camera shit. And I also don't really like Sekiro's approach to difficulty in some circumstances. In some boss encounters and mini-boss encounters, the way they make it hard sometimes isn't because it's a hard enemy, it's they'll throw multiple enemies in addition to that enemy at you, so they'll just try and overwhelm you with numbers, and then it becomes a huge challenge. I think that's a really lazy way of making a boss or mini-boss challenging. I'd prefer if his combo strings or moves were just better designed and to make it a more mechanically challenging boss instead of, holy shit, I'm just getting hazed in the football team's locker room here by all of these enemies. I just don't like that approach all that much. Also, in the game, you get a robo-arm, a prosthetic arm, which comes with a lot of different attachments, like a fucking flamethrower, things like that. I think all of the prosthetics were very, very situational, to the point where you'd almost never use them and you'd always just forget that you even had them. I don't think the prosthetics ever really had a strong purpose, at least in my initial playthrough. New Game Plus, I find myself using it a bit more. That's another thing, New Game Plus is extremely easy. I expected it to be harder, not a complaint, just saying. But the prosthetics never really solidify themselves as a valid thing to use against any enemies of any kind. Sometimes, like with the finger whistle prosthetic, you can plan out a strategic attack, and I could see the use in that. But in terms of combat, I don't think you will ever use a prosthetic for more than like breaking a shield or something with the axe, or just very briefly stunning the boss with the firecracker so you can get one cheap shot in on him or break up his combo. Also, in addition to that, there's a couple skill trees that are totally fucking worthless as well. The martial arts tree serves genuinely no purpose at all. It doesn't really increase the duration of your consumables by much, maybe like 2 or 3 seconds from what I've seen. And also it doesn't increase your sin gain by that much. And all of the offensive moves in the martial arts tree you should never ever get. It's a huge waste of your skill points. I have seen no reason to ever use anything from the martial arts tree. And the last complaint I have about the game is the hook shot. I don't exactly know how else to explain it. The thing that you latch onto roofs and you swing towards them, to put it for all of you non-Sekiro veterans out there. That lock-on is very all over the place and inconsistent. Sometimes you're like right underneath the thing that you want to grapple onto, and it will not pick it up. It seems like it works when it wants to work, and sometimes it just fucking falls asleep and won't work at all. I swear that shit just made me so soft sometimes. But anyway, let me plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Sekiro Shadows Die Twice an 85%. I think the game is spectacular. I fucking loved it start to finish. Also, the final boss, I think, is a huge, huge piece of shit. The final boss is the hardest boss in any Souls-like game I have ever played. And I beat the shit out of every Souls-like game, and I never struggled as much as I did on the final boss. You have to fucking fight 4 different phases with full health bars, and the third phase and fourth phase of the final boss, I think, are just genuinely unfair to a certain degree. I had to cheese it to beat him, and I'm embarrassed to say that because I've never had to resort to using any type of cheese on any boss in any of the Souls-like games, but in this one, I unfortunately did. I haven't gotten back to him in New Game Plus yet. I'm taking my time and exploring again, and this time I feel like I can probably get him, but still, that boss is fucking brutal. Now, I'm always asked to the tier list, put the Souls-like series in order from best to worst. So I'll give you my tier list for the Souls-like games. Number 1, Nioh. Nioh's my favorite Souls-like. Second place, Dark Souls 1. Third place, Bloodborne. Fourth place, Sekiro. And then fifth place, Dark Souls 3. Sixth place, The Surge. Seventh place, Dark Souls 2. Eighth place, Demon Souls. And then ninth place, Lords of the Fallen. That is my Souls-like tier list, and that's about it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter, hosted by me, the master of gaming, the preeminent expert in anything that even remotely resembles a Souls-like video game. Today we're looking at the newest entry into this genre, the Surge 2. Now, as a fan of the first Surge, I recognized it has a lot of problems, but I still overall enjoyed the experience. The two biggest problems I felt the Surge faced was its ridiculous enemy placement and weird map design, where it was really counterintuitive and there was like 1,000 fucking shortcuts just to get to a bathroom, so then you'd have like 10 different ways of getting there and you'd get confused. The shortcuts became part of a puzzle that was never really intended to be there. And I'm happy to say the Surge 2 improves in both of these areas, more so on the enemy placement. Like in the first game, they'd stack 50 enemies behind this box that would jump out and fuck you in the ass before you had any chance of knowing they were there, so a lot of the deaths felt like it wasn't your fault, but more just bad enemy placement. Because, like I said, they'd pop out of this birthday cake like strippers you weren't expecting, and they were all over the place, just fucking gangbanging you, and it was just really lackluster. The Surge 2 doesn't have this problem. The enemy placement is a lot better, I feel. However, I feel a lot of the maps are still confusing in their design. For example, early on, Brother Johnny, when you're navigating Port Nixon, just this corrosive swampland of stink, it's really hard to get a feel for it. It takes 4 or 5 times going through it before you finally figure out where things are, which is really frustrating because if you die somewhere in Port Nixon, trying to get back to it is just an absolute chore. You feel like a blind man feeling his way around the area because all of these corridors are so tight and genuinely identical in terms of what enemies are there and how they even look. So where you feel like you visited before could be entirely different and lead you somewhere else entirely. There are just so many nooks and crannies of these areas that it's so easy to get lost in. And again, there's a lot of shortcuts, which does help, and they cut back on the shortcuts this time so they actually feel meaningful and you can actually remember where they are, which is nice. But even still, the map design, I think, leads to a lot of confusion. But lackluster map design aside, I think the maps look very nice. I think it's a technical upgrade from the first one across the board, and I really feel like it's mainly just overall a much better experience than the first Surge, especially in terms of the weapons. I was finding weapons left and right that I had a lot of fun with. There's more weapon varieties. There's a whole lot of new fun finishers, of course, that are always satisfying to execute. Get a lot of parts, get a lot of weapons, and you're always constantly switching things out, trying new things out. See what really fits your playstyle. If you want something fast, have like fucking Valkyrie claws, go full Wolverine style on them like a fucking feral animal. You can do the hammer approach, which I gravitated towards early on in the game. And it never stops being satisfying, chopping through all of these mobs of enemies on your way to a boss or on your way to explore or find new things. It's just, the combat, I feel, is just a lot of fun. It's a little clunky at times, and yes, there's a lot of bugs. Sometimes you'll go for a finisher on them, and they'll fall through the map, and all of a sudden you're fucking doing your finisher on the dude's ghost, which isn't a game-breaking experience or anything. I also really like the crafting and upgrade system. I find that to be entirely unique in the genre, that I just have a lot of fun chopping off certain body parts. You know, you target the right arm, get a nice weapon. I really enjoy that, collect more of the right arms of that gear, level things up. I really like the way they approach the crafting and upgrading. I think it just leads to a lot of fun, and it makes you want to go out and kill a bunch of enemies instead of run by them in a speed run. I also really like their approach to bosses. I think some of the bosses are pretty uninspired and kind of lazy. There's not a whole lot of cool mechanics to them. It's kind of just do the same tactics you've been doing the whole game, but now on someone with more health, which isn't the greatest, but the bosses at least look cool for the most part. But what I really like when it comes to bosses is you can approach the boss in a different way and do a challenge kill on it to get a different weapon, an improved weapon. In most cases, they're not overly great, but it is still always rewarding to pull off the challenge and get that special weapon for killing the boss in that way. And I think that is just a really cool game design. As far as story and narrative go, you're probably not going to be paying too much attention to it. I found myself zoning out through a lot of it. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I don't think it's really good either. But it's there if you definitely want some lore to dive into. I find some of the side characters scattered throughout the world pretty interesting though. There's a nice little nightclub with a DJ in the middle, and then there's a dude striking a superhero pose over to the side by the bar. You can talk to him and he tells you a little story about being like a superhero actor type dude. And I think that shit's kind of cute. But as far as lore and overarching narrative go, I don't think there's anything too innovative or inspired in the storytelling. It's mainly just there to get you point A to point B to fight some cool shit, find some cool shit, and just unleash cool shit. And in a game like this, I think the most important thing that needs to be right is the gameplay, and it really is here. It's extremely satisfying. It never gets old. It's always fun. There's a lot of different ways you can build your character with the implants that give you different perks and abilities. And you also have the gear that comes with bonuses and partial bonuses. It's just a lot to do and always fun to mix and match, and killing enemies never gets old no matter how easy or how hard they are. And I have to say, I don't think the game is overall that challenging. I never found myself struggling too hard unless maybe I got myself into a really tough situation where, I go full big dick mode and I take on 9 dudes, I've herded them up, and then I try and bowl them down like I'm going for a strike in the lanes. And then I'll maybe struggle trying to do that. But overall, if you're just picking them off one by one, even 2s and 3s, you're not going to struggle, and even the bosses don't present all that much of a challenge. Plugging the Surge 2 into the Moist meter, I'm giving it an 80%. These are the kind of games that I really find myself liking, not just Souls-like games, but a AA game that is very clearly has a lot of passion behind it. I had the same opinion when it came to Remnant from the Ashes. I think the industry needs more games like this, from a creative team that, wants to deliver a unique experience and make it fun first and foremost. Greedfall is another one that I found myself really enjoying. I just really gravitate more towards the lower budget titles that have real passion and work put into them, that really drive to deliver something memorable and fun. And I think the Surge 2 does that. It's not going to be anything that ranks overly high on the Souls-like fans tier list, I don't think. But it's enough that it's a fun game to be entered into that category and just an overall fun experience. And that's about it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to Moist Meter. How wet are ya? If you'll check your menus, you'll see that the only item on today's menu is the Surge. The ingredients consist of mainly Dark Souls with a hint of incompetence. However, the overall product is a pretty enjoyable dish, most comparable to a shrimp Alfredo, because the Alfredo is great, however the shrimp kind of brings it down a little bit. I'm a fan of shrimp, but shrimp to me just doesn't go very well in an Alfredo pasta dish, and that's kind of how I feel about this game without giving too much away right off the bat. Now, this game was made by Deck 13. They're the people behind Lords of the Fallen a few years ago, which was their first attempt at a Dark Souls-like game. This is now their second attempt, their sophomore attempt, their second testicle in the nutsack, and it seems they've corrected a lot of the mistakes they made with Lords of the Fallen. However, one glaring issue I take with the game is there's no character creation option. That's not a big thing, it's just I'm a big fan of Dark Souls and I really love the character creation options, as do a lot of people. It's great to just make some fucking abomination straight out of a Lovecraftian horror scene. You just play as a boring, generic man von bro. There's really no excuse for not just having some type of character creation tools, and it really adds a lot to the experience. Now, the first pubic hair I'm gonna pluck off this chicken is the story. The story's not bad. There's nothing too special about it. It's pretty decently written. There's really no huge issues I take with it. It's not memorable. It's nothing that really stood out to me. It was there. It moved it along. It was nice. Voice acting was nothing too special either, but it wasn't bad. It was just everything regarding story was just pretty mediocre. Finding the audio logs was pretty cool though. A lot of the audio logs were actually pretty interesting to me. But that was about it. Much like Dark Souls, you have to go out of your way for the interesting pieces of exposition, but the story is not bad on the surface, and the cutscenes look fucking great. The cutscenes were really, really pretty, as was pretty much everything in this game. Now, I was not a big fan of the enemies. The enemy design was pretty boring. Almost all the enemies were exactly the same. The bosses weren't too cool either. Nothing crazy or off the walls. Nothing like a dildo bot that you fought. It was just very bland enemies, as was the armor. The armor was incredibly stale and underwhelming. A lot of it just looked similar to the last piece of armor you got. Nothing really stood out. It was just kind of boring armor. Weapons, on the other hand, were fucking badass. A lot of the weapons were really cool in my opinion. However, it's just the armor fell short. It looked like Matt Damon's Elysium, except with a little more milk in the titty tanks. It just kind of looked like real steel with Hugh Jackman meeting Dark Souls. And that's not a bad thing. I really like the setting. I'm a big fan of the setting, and I thought a lot of the environments looked nice. Level design wasn't quite that good, not quite to the level of Dark Souls, but not bad. But what really shines with this game is the gameplay. It was really fresh and really unique. You could target specific parts of the enemy you're facing. You could go for the armored parts, which they take a lot less damage, but gives you the opportunity to cut the limb off with an execution move and take that part of their armor, get the schematic for it. Or you could go for an unarmored piece of the enemy and kill them a lot quicker, but without the chances of getting their schematics. I thought it was a great trade-off and a really interesting system that made you think and changed the way you play and approach different enemies. I fucking loved that. I thought that was really cool. Also, the crafting system was pretty nice, and as well as the implants that they had, I thought really just livened up the experience. It wasn't just a Dark Souls clone. It took the Dark Souls formula and built on it and added new things to it that I think really worked really well. It just never really got old. It was always fun, even just to fight the low henchmen, the grunts. You know, you target their left leg and you cut that shit off, and then all of a sudden you got a schematic for a brand new diamond butt plug. It was just fun. However, the game really did just leave a lot to be desired. There was a lot of potential wasted here. There's only 5 bosses in the entire game. Dark Souls had so many bosses, Neo had so many bosses, and that made it fun. The bosses were always a really fun and challenging but rewarding experience. In this game, there's only 5, which is just such a fucking letdown. And the henchmen never really make up for the lack of bosses. It'd be like having a tech deck finger skateboarder replace a real skateboarder at the X Games. Alright, so now we've got the chefs in the kitchen calculating the moisture content of this game, and we've clocked it at a 75%. The story is pretty cliche, the characters aren't very interesting, the setting is hit or miss, some people will like it, some people won't, but I think most people will agree that a lot of it looks pretty. A lot of the environments do get very samey and repetitive, just like the enemies. However, the gameplay makes up for most of its shortcomings. The implant system where you jack in a fucking floppy disk into your head to give you little bonuses, that's pretty fun, as well as the actual combat, which is just fucking superb. I don't think it's quite as crisp or as rewarding as Neo or the actual Souls series, but for fans of the Soulsborne type of games, I think that's what they're calling them, Soulsborne, fucking Seamanborn, I don't know what it's called these days, you're going to want to pick this game up because it does the formula really well as add some new things to it, leading to an overall fun experience. So, yeah, that's it. Live moist or dry hard.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Call of Duty is a franchise name that's been inducing vomit in the mouths of men and women everywhere for the better part of the last decade. The games they've been pumping out have just been absolute dog shit, truly atrocious. However, kids still very much enjoy them. They still send kids to bed with wet dreams with them imagining the next Call of Duty title, and then those parents of those children have nightmares about all the money they lose when it comes out. So they've been financially successful. They still do really well, so they keep pumping that shit out. I wasn't excited for the newest one, which is Black Ops 4, until I played the beta for its Battle Royale mode and was blown away. But how is the full release? Is the full release good? Is it worth it? Yeah, it's pretty fucking good. And the best part about Black Ops 4 is they just got rid of the campaign. Some brave hero, some brave warrior stood up in the Activision headquarters and said, you know what? Enough is enough. Our campaigns suck, asshole. Why are we doing this? No one likes them. And then they all applauded and said, you know what? Harrison's right. We're getting rid of this shit. The Call of Duty campaigns have been a joke for the last 8 years. A fucking horrible joke, a B-movie joke, a Tommy Wiseau joke, a fucking joke that they got tired of telling. Eventually they said, you know what, we're tired of telling the same joke, let's get rid of it. And I'm so happy they did because this game is so much better because it doesn't have a bad campaign tacked on. So Black Ops 4 only has the multiplayer game modes. It has Zombies, Battle Royale, which is the Blackout mode, and then the standard multiplayer everyone's used to. Zombies is great. They made some questionable decisions like removing Juggernaut, but overall, it's still a very good zombie experience that you've come to know and love from Treyarch. Really well done, and I have no complaints there, except for maybe taking out a couple of things that I don't quite understand the reason for. The multiplayer, which is the standard competitive multiplayer you're used to from COD franchise, is good. I'm not personally a huge fan of the formula, but it's functional. It works well. It does what it aims to do. It's like a condom. You know what you're getting when you put it on, and it's safe. There's nothing that's going to blow you away. There's nothing that's going to have your jaw on the floor with your testicles right next to it by how good it is. But it's safe. It's normal. It's what you'd expect. So there's no complaints there from me either. It's not personally my taste, but I can recognize it is objectively well executed, it's clean. The biggest complaint with multiplayer is the spawns. The spawns are objectively awful. I've seen 3 play the games where a guy gets a kill, dies, and then gets another kill or a kill after that. So he was able to die and spawn next to enemies. That's a clear problem with the spawning system. That shit needs to be reworked. You can't be having an elite gaming specimen spawning next to some Boy Scouts that didn't even expect them there. So it's a little broken with the spawns, but everything else is pretty clean. Now the biggest thing with Black Ops 4 is its Battle Royale mode, Blackout. That is what I was most excited for after playing the beta, and it almost hurts me to say, but the game's Battle Royale is just so fucking good. I've never enjoyed Call of Duty quite like I have the last week or so of me playing this one. It's just so fucking fun. The Blackout mode is excellent, absolutely excellent. Now, let me talk about the problems I have with the mode, though, because there are some shortcomings. The sound. The sound in Blackout is horrible. It's deceptive. You have no idea where shots are coming from. It'll sound like there's a guy shooting in the bathroom right next to you in the house, but it turns out that guy was shooting across the map at a helicopter. The sound echoes everywhere, and you can never deduce the genesis of where the sound is. You can never tell where it's coming from. It's like you're stuck in like a fucking echo chamber, and you just can't figure out where it is. It's really frustrating trying to use sound to pinpoint enemies. It's very inaccurate. So that's my biggest complaint with it. Another problem I have is I think the map doesn't lend itself very well to how fast-paced the gunplay is, because it's very hard to find enemies. There's so much foliage, so many trees, and there's not a lot of verticality, so everything's flat. It makes it very hard to find enemies. The map isn't that big, which is good, but the map is so cluttered that you will never find enemies efficiently. The most kills you'll have in a game is anywhere from 3 to maybe 10 if you have a really good round. My personal best, unfortunately, is only 8, which isn't super high, but it's not bad. That's not bad, but, you know, in a game like Fortnite, you have the building to compensate for the map size, so you can build, get a better vantage point, and find people. Blackout, you don't have that, so you just have to find people on a level playing field most of the time, and that's really hard. But for some people, that's probably a plus. A lot of people may like the slower pace and the lack of finding enemies, but me, I like the faster paced games, so that's a negative in my book. Now, it's going to be hard to talk about Blackout without it being compared to Fortnite, so I'll compare it to Fortnite. I think Fortnite is a better Battle Royale game for one simple fact. You can always fight back. The positioning, let's say someone is camping near a tree that you don't see because you're playing fast-paced, and they see you first. In Fortnite, you get shot at, you build, you can react, you can fight back, you can outplay them. You're never going to guarantee a loss by getting out-positioned or because you're at a disadvantage. In Blackout, if someone has a better position, sees you first, you're pretty much fucked. I mean, that is, of course, unless the guy that spots you has got his soft cock in his hands with his eyes closed shooting at you. But the majority of the time, if someone sees you first and you don't see them, there is no chance of you winning that encounter. And I think just for that one simple difference between Blackout and Fortnite, where Fortnite has a mechanic that allows you to fight back even at a disadvantage, and Blackout does not. It doesn't have anything for you to fight back with. It just leaves you out there with your asshole out in the open, exposed and shit. So for me personally, I like the fact that you can always fight back in Fortnite regardless of the situation, and Blackout doesn't have that. So I think Fortnite is the better Battle Royale just for that one simple fact, where if you get good at building, you can always react and have a chance, which I always enjoy. So I do think Fortnite's the better Battle Royale, but I think Blackout is the second best Battle Royale by a wide margin. I think it is just barely worse than Fortnite because there's just one simple difference between them, but it is so fucking good that I can't recommend it enough. It is so much fun. I've been having a whole lot of fun with Black Ops 4, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect I'd ever like Call of Duty again because they've been so uninspired and shitty, but this is just so good. Let's plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Black Ops 4 an 85%. It is just really good. I have so few complaints about it, and the complaints that I do have aren't game-changing. It's just there's simple things that should be tweaked and fixed that I think would make this an even better experience, but right now this is probably the best multiplayer game that's on the market. That's not free to play. It's probably the best retail AAA game out there at the moment. If you're into multiplayer games and shooters, it's definitely worth picking up. It's a lot of fucking fun. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Code Vein, otherwise known as Anime Souls, Weeb Souls, Waifu Souls. It has many different titles, but one thing it definitely is a very, very anime Dark Souls inspired game. Nothing wrong with that. I think the game overall is very fun, so let's rumble. The biggest difference between this title and others in the genre is its emphasis on story. Most games that fall into this really put not much focus on a story. Yeah, they're there, and they're definitely good if you go out of your way to find the story elements, but this one is much more about a narrative that you follow, meeting characters developing, solving mysteries, and it's a lot of fun. Even though oftentimes it's extremely cheesy, it's not a bad thing, but this is genuinely some of the most anime shit I have ever seen in my life. There's a main character named Yakumo, and every time he even so much as hears a fart, he goes into this long monologue about what his friends mean to him. I shit you not, there's a scene where he takes out an onigiri, takes a bite of it, and then says, "Oh, I see you saw me eat an onigiri. Well, I'm not exactly hungry, but it reminds me of my friends. My friends and I used to love eating these together, and there's not a goddamn thing on this planet I wouldn't do for my friends. I'd go to hell and back for my friends, then back to hell if they wanted me to. I'd stay in hell and jerk off in hell if my friends wanted me to. My friends mean everything to me. Friendship. The power of friendship." I can see why that would be off-putting to a lot of people who don't want to hear ramblings about the power of friendship, and there's a lot of big anime titties that jiggle around a lot. So if you're really not into that whole generic anime plotline dialogue and style, then there's not a lot here for you narratively. But if you don't mind the cheesiness and you don't mind some really lackluster voice acting in a lot of points in this game, it's a lot of fun. I think the story's well written and it's interesting and it keeps you invested in the characters. But you can skip the dialogue, you can skip the whole story if you want to, just kind of mash start through it like you're watching a RuneScape cutscene, you're just fucking hammering space to get through it. And that's fine, because the gameplay is very fun, so if you really just care about good Souls-like gameplay, Code Vein offers that for sure. There's a decent amount of build diversity, but they all kind of boil down to 3 main weapons and 3 main ways of playing. There's a bayonet, which allows you to shoot, and it's best for casting. There's giant 2-handed swords and hammers, which is good if you want to do some strength stuff. And then there's one-handed weapons as well if you're going for more dexterity-based, dodging around-based shit. When it comes to actually fighting enemies, the combat itself isn't that deep, and most of the abilities kind of function in the same manner. Though there are obvious differences between them, you'll kind of find yourself using the same 3 abilities depending on what kind of build you want to do. So the combat itself in terms of fighting isn't that deep. There's not really a lot of combos or a combo system or anything like that. But where it gets deep is when it comes to how you want to build your character, with the blood codes, the blood veils kind of functioning as your armor and a complement to your blood codes kind of functioning as the base for what you want to go. For example, tanking, you'd most likely want something with Atlas, maybe even Fighter. There's just a lot of blood codes that offer different statistical benefits, different resistances, different perks, and they come with their own set of gifts. Now, gifts in this game are the abilities, and if you master an ability, you can use it even without the corresponding blood code, so you can constantly have different abilities on different blood codes that weren't native to it. And your blood veil, like I said, is basically your armor with your defensive stats as well as some offensive scaling bonuses. So it gets deep when it comes to min-maxing your character and making a build that you're happy with. However, the combat itself is kind of lacking in depth when you're actually fighting mobs. There's really just not a whole lot of depth to it, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because what it does well enough in its execution to make it fun. I never found myself bored during a fight. The only times I found myself a little underwhelmed is during the boss fights, because these bosses have no mechanical depth to them whatsoever. You could give the controller to your dog and just have your dog hammer on it and probably beat one of the bosses. The bosses aren't overly different from just a normal enemy. They have basically the same 3-attack move chain, they have a teleport slash, and that's about it. They just have more health. They have about as much mechanical depth as fighting a RuneScape goblin in Lumbridge. I just don't understand why, in a game that has stakes as high as this does narratively, they'd have the bosses be so forgettable. There's never a time where you're struggling against a boss because you have a companion with you at all times, and the companions are way too strong. I'd recommend playing this game without companions if you want an actual difficult experience, because with companions, this is the easiest Souls-like game that's ever been made by a mile. And that's not bad, because mainly I think the game puts a bigger emphasis on its story than its challenge. But if you are looking for a challenge, turn that off. But the point I'm making with the bosses is, it's just like fighting a normal enemy in the wild. It's just not very fun. In the boss design, I think they're aesthetically cool. I think they look nice. But I would at least like their attacks and the battle itself to have a little more depth than just dodge 3 times, slap in the back 3 times, then they're staggered, they go down on one knee like they're praying, and then you just fucking hammer them and take their lunch money and poke them in the ass with your sword. It's just the same thing repeated all the way up until the last boss. The last boss is the only one that even has a second phase. It's just really underwhelming with the bosses. And that also extends to its common enemies as well, because there's really only 4 enemies in this entire game that are repeated throughout the entire 15-hour journey. No matter what zone you visit, the zones look nice and they're environmentally different and fun looking, but all of the enemies in there are the same 4 enemies you've been fighting since the tutorial, just recolored. And that's so stupid. I hate that. I like when the games keep enemy variety fresh, so that way you're constantly having to change up how you attack a battle and, get by an encounter. Here, it's always the same enemies in every zone, dropped in groups of 2 that are just kind of planted right in front of you with no care to enemy placement whatsoever, and you just fucking slash through them. There's more variety in Tetris blocks than there are in enemies in this 15-hour adventure. It's just really upsetting to just keep fighting the same enemies over and over and over again. I was really hoping that would evolve, but it doesn't. Luckily, the combat is fun, so when you're just mowing this shit down, it at least feels satisfying, albeit disappointing because you've already killed 1,000 of these things by now. But one thing I really like about this game is the soundtrack. I think the score to this game is absolutely beautiful. Although they repeat the songs a lot throughout the story, that's kind of to be expected. And they play the same song every time you visit a vestige, which in this game is a memory of a character in the universe, and you're getting more about their backstory. I always found myself getting really invested in that time thanks to the music complementing the story you're getting in the memory. And it's also really beautiful walking around the memory, because it's set up in such a surreal and abstract way, and I just thought it was really cute, and I enjoyed that. And at no point in this game did I ever find the music to be lackluster or forgettable. The music is a really strong point in this game, in my opinion. Another thing a lot of people might like is the ability to co-op the game. You can invite other players, your friends, in to play along with you, and then you have another player and a companion, so then you're just gangbanging everything. And that's a nice chaotic clusterfuck when you have that going on. But again, it takes away the challenge, whatever semblance of a challenge existed before you bring in your friend anyway. It's just fun to have that ability to just co-op these kind of games. Now, while I think the game is pretty flawed on a technical level and there's a lot of things I feel it definitely could have done better, I really did find myself enjoying the game a lot. I really enjoyed the charm of the characters in the universe and the story. I loved the unapologetically anime storyline and writing and just feel of the game as a whole. And like I said, the combat never got tiresome. I did try and switch around builds a few times, although I always settled on going back to just a giant two-handed approach. It just seemed like the most efficient way. But I really do think this is a good game, not a great game. So plugging this into the Moist meter, I'm giving Code Vein a nice 70%. I think it's a fun game with a really interesting story to offer, albeit one that I think could put people off of it big time. But even if you disregard the story, I think a lot of people will like toying around with the builds and finding everything, and then just finding a playstyle that suits you best for the combat. Even though the combat's not hard, it's fun to experiment with. And just overall, I think it was a fun game. That's about it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're finally taking a look at the new Super Smash Bros. I know we're a little tardy to this party here. This shit's been out for like 10 days, which means everyone on the internet's pretty much forgetting about it by now. But I really wanted to wait to do this Moist Meter until I got my dick wet in this game. I wanted to play a lot of online matches. I wanted to really familiarize myself with all the mechanics and most of the characters. And now I can say I finally have, and that I really do have a firm grasp on the game and can review it properly. To quickly just shit on modern games journalism, most of the game journalists that review games don't even get past the tutorial, and they're fucking awful at the games. So I didn't want to do like a half-baked review and review this after doing like 10 adventure mode matches and 1 online match. I wanted to make sure that I could review this as someone that really put a lot of hours, blood, sweat, tears, and cum into the game. And now that I have, I can say this game is fucking great. Smash Bros. Melee is a game that is near and dear to my boners. I played the shit out of it for most of my life and most of my college life. I was never extremely good, but I was middle of the pack. I would run shit in the dorm rooms. It was a lot of fun. I didn't care much for Brawl or Smash 4. I basically just used those discs to wipe my ass with. That shit wasn't all that fun to me. But Smash Ultimate is the perfect blend of all of it. It is an extraordinarily good game. All of the characters are pretty fucking balanced. There's no unanimously awful character. Even the worst character in this game can still be played very well by a good player, and even the best player in this game doesn't just fucking steamroll and ham-fist the urethra of every other character, no matter how good the player is. All of the characters can absolutely be good, which is surprising with a roster this size. You'd think the balancing would be all kinds of shitted, but it's really well balanced. Not like in Brawl, where Meta Knight was so incredibly broken and overpowered they had to ban him perpetually in any type of competitive play, and there had to be house rules when you played with your friends that no one would pick Meta Knight, or else your fucking Wii would get fucking busted because it'd be so frustrating. Or Smash 4, where Bayonetta was undoubtedly the best character by a long shot. This game has so many characters that could easily be considered the best in the game, depending on who's playing them. It's really impressive how well it's balanced. Just on a personal note though, I fucking hate Inkling. I think if you pick Inkling, Santa Claus is going to be delivering coal and cow shit into your stocking this year. Inkling is super fucking frustrating. It's just a one-trick pony, side B into buttfuck. Can't stand that character. Wouldn't say it's broken, but it's really frustrating to play against. Fuck Inkling. Moving on though, this game has a really good campaign, story mode, the adventure mode. The adventure mode I thought would just be kind of tacked on and not very fun, but it's pretty fucking deep. They have a RPG-like system. They have spirits that you pick and choose from, catered to whatever character you're playing as or your play style, that enhance certain aspects. Some that will give you an item to start with. Some will just straight improve stats, give you an extra jump. It's actually a pretty decent system. There's a skill tree as well. It's not too deep or anything. You're definitely not going to get overwhelmed with the choices or anything like that. It's not going to be like Path of Exile where you zoom out and then all of a sudden you puke because it's just so much shit there to take in at once. It's like a fucking Harry Potter's book worth of text to read about the skill tree and shit. The game's deep enough to keep it fun and fresh, and the adventure mode is extremely long. It's like a 24-hour campaign. Using Olimar and my broken spirit setup though, I was able to one-shot my way through most of the game, so it only took me, an expert gamer, approximately 16 or 17 hours I believe, start to finish. So I probably have the speedrun world record at the moment on the game. Just saying, I can't prove it yet. I don't have any scientific data to back it up, but I can say with a high degree of confidence I'm probably up in the top 5 of speedruns there. The story of the adventure mode is nothing to write home about. It's really bare bones. It's not anything impressive or anything like that, but I don't think anyone's buying Smash Bros. To be blown away by a story. They want to just have some fucking fun with their friends and just smash like shit. And this game is perfect for that. You can get your fucking boys together, crack open a couple Budweisers on your forehead, snuggle up next to each other in some nice cozy pajamas, and just have a fucking blast playing Smash Bros. It's a really fun game. It's not as technical as Melee, I don't think, personally. But then again, I'm not a top tier player at this yet, so maybe there is more under the hood to this than I currently understand. My little reptile brain may not have been wrapped around everything the game has to offer yet. But so far, it doesn't seem as technical as Melee was, which isn't a complaint. It doesn't need to be. It's technical enough to be a big gap between a regular player and a very good player. There's a lot of competitiveness to this game, and it's a really good competitive fighter. Now let's move on to my only big complaints here, and it's the online. The online is trash. It's some filthy fucking anus. It is really poor. There's not a whole lot of options, and it's so primitive. Nintendo is stuck in like the late 90s with their multiplayer understanding. They just don't get it. This shit is an archaic fossil of multiplayer. You have to pay for it too, which is just an insult. They're just spitting in your face. It's 2018. When you have to pay for an online multiplayer service, it's a joke. I wouldn't be surprised if soon Nintendo requires you to downgrade the dial-up to use their services online. They make you type in a fucking friend code if you want to friend request someone without being in the same lobby. It's room codes instead of searching for specific rooms or a host or anything like that. It's just so baffling how out of touch they are with 2018 multiplayer. It's almost laughable if it wasn't so sad because the game's great and it really hampers the experience when trying to play online. Not only is it just primitively designed, but once you're in the game, the network can't really hold itself up super well, so you'll be landing in these really laggy rooms where you're gonna go frame by frame like a PowerPoint slideshow when playing against somebody. It's just rough. The online is super rough. It could easily be fixed with a patch, I think, if they put some effort into it and maybe learn how multiplayer is done these days, instead of taking notes from a textbook they found in an Egyptian sarcophagus about multiplayer compatibility. Because if they could just fix that, this game would be everything Smash Bros. Needed to be. It has everything that most people wanted. A great cast of characters, more characters to come as well. It looks like they're going to be constantly updating it with balance changes already coming out. It's just a very, very good game. But the multiplayer just holds it, the online multiplayer, just holds it back so fucking much and is a huge shit stain on an otherwise nearly flawless product. And I know you can absolutely argue that there are other flaws with this game, but I feel like they're so trivial in comparison to what the game brings that I don't even think it's worth wasting breath talking about them. Let's go ahead and plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Smash Bros. Ultimate a 90%. The game is extraordinary, it's extremely fun, and it's just held back by a startlingly bad multiplayer. Not just because of really bad practices from Nintendo and not understanding multiplayer, but even the actual multiplayer itself doesn't function as well as it needs to, and it's surprisingly limited in the options that it has. But otherwise, the game is perfect if you want to just play with your friends. It's a great game even if you just want to play by yourself and do like story mode or against CPUs. It's just a great fucking game. I do think this is probably the best Smash game overall, and I don't say that lightly with how closely attached I am to Melee. I have been absolutely loving Smash Ultimate. That's it. See ya.
This episode was brought to you by Keeps.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. This is the latest Dragon Ball Z game, and like almost every other Dragon Ball Z game before it, you play through the story of Dragon Ball Z from start to finish. However, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is far more in-depth and has significantly more fan service than any of the other ones, which is great. They're bringing back characters that I guarantee no one in the world remembers ever existed in the universe in the first place. Not even Akira Toriyama would recognize half the fucking cast and crew here. They'll have like a side quest given to you by the baker who appeared in a single scene during a flashback of episode 8 in the original Dragon Ball series from the 80s. It's crazy the kind of characters they brought in here, and it's really heartwarming to see a lot of them brought back. But I don't think their side quests they give you are all that enjoyable. Most of them are just fetch quests. Hey Goku, it's good to see you after 40 years. Can you find me some fresh deer meat, 3 tissue boxes, and a lawnmower? I'm working on a new invention. Just the quests themselves aren't very fun from a gameplay perspective, but it's really cute to do them and then get that character's soul emblem, which is basically like a little trading card with the character's face on it, a little token with their face on it. I'll get into that in a minute. The soul emblem mechanic in the community board I think is a really cool, interesting mechanic they brought in. But yeah, it's not just bringing in fan service characters, they bring in literally every element from Dragon Ball Z's main story arcs. Even the filler episodes such as Goku and Piccolo driving, it's here. It is a really deep dive through the entire arcs with all of the fat trimmed off it. It's a really nice summary of everything, and it's really enjoyable to just sit through and rewatch it again, kind of. Like, even just not playing the game, watching it is a lot of fun, because you get all of the same story elements, all of the same cheesy dialogue, cheesy writing, and power-ups and shit. You know, I was so fucking invested in this, by the time I was able to gather the 7 Dragon Balls in the open world, I damn near made a wish myself for extra inches to my height. I just got so invested in the story and the game. It was cute. I felt like a little kid again going through all this nostalgia shit. And I will say, if you're not a fan of Dragon Ball Z, I don't think there's a whole lot here for you in terms of the story and everything. Most people are just going to find it overly cheesy and just silly. But for fans of the series, it's exactly what you want from a Dragon Ball Z story. It covers everything, it doesn't leave anything out except for a couple of trivial things and a couple of small changes. It's just great. I really like what they've done with the narrative, and it's a lot. There's a ton of cutscenes here, and I don't think all the cutscenes look very good. A lot of them are kind of Jump Force-esque, like Jump Force meets PowerPoint. It's just very still image shit, which is a little underwhelming, but it's fun. I do enjoy it. Like, come on, how can you not love these fucking grown men constantly trying to make each other angry to power themselves up? Like, Goku, you're not angry enough, get angrier. Come on, Gohan, that's not nearly angry enough. You fucking kidding me? You look like a pussy out there, not angry. Think about that time you saw an opinion on Twitter you didn't agree with. Remember how mad you were then? Get that mad now to defeat Cell. Come on. It's fucking awesome. It's so great. And that's definitely my favorite part, is just reliving all of the Dragon Ball Z nostalgia, because I haven't seen all of the arcs since I was fucking 11 years old now. It's been a long time, and it was a really nice refresher on all of it. And I know that's not unique to Dragon Ball Z games, of course, because all of them cover the exact same shit and all hit the same beats, but Kakarot, I think, does it the best by just getting everything in it. So yeah, definitely probably the strongest part of this game. The gameplay, I don't think, is anything overly different from what you're used to from Dragon Ball fighting games, except for Fighter Z, of course. It's exactly what you're expecting. A lot of spamming B, timing, dodging, instant transmission behind someone. A whole bunch of the same old, which isn't a problem because it's the tried and true formula for Dragon Ball fighting games. You know what to expect. You get pretty much the exact thing you're expecting. They have a super ability level up deal where you collect orbs in the world or through battle or through the story, and you're able to upgrade your different attacks, different supers, get new abilities and new bonuses that you stack on your characters. So you can switch things out, change things around, but the gameplay at its core is exactly what you're expecting from a Dragon Ball Z fighting game. Now, one new mechanic that I mentioned a moment ago that I really like is the whole Soul Emblem and Community Board. The Community Board is something that they brought in here where there's different categories where all of your Soul Emblems can fit into. For example, every main character has a Soul Emblem, Goku, all of them, and they each come with different values for each different category they can be in, like Z Fighter, Training, they all have different numbers. And you put these Soul Emblems in the board, and as you match other characters in the Community Board, you get bonuses. Some bonuses give you bonus XP, some give you more damage, all kinds of different bonuses that you're able to unlock by putting new Soul Emblems in there that you get from the story or through the side missions. And I think that's a lot of fun to keep amping up your power, making yourself more powerful, making the grind easier. Maybe you want to collect more items in the world or get more money. Well, then you'd overload some of those categories that give you those bonuses with some Soul Emblems that fit there, and then you can give them gifts that increase it further. I just found that system to be very nice and just kind of a cute little twist that was able to just amp the gameplay up a little bit more for me and add a little bit of strategy and preparation. Now, the open world is something that I know a lot of people are curious about. I don't think the open world really adds all that much to this game. It's kind of just barren. There's not a whole lot to do. There's side quests in there, sure. But I don't think there's anyone that's going to go wild over the fishing mechanics you can do in the open world, where you just slap a fucking butt plug in your ass as Goku and dangle that shit in a river and wait for a fish to bite, and then you bring it up and kick it down. It's not overly fun to fish. Hunting is equally as unfun, where you just go around sticking your whole entire fist up a deer's asshole to get its meat. There's also dinosaurs that you key blast and then you get dinosaur meat. I don't think anything the open world has is overly enjoyable. The random encounters and the villain encounters aren't very fun either, because it's just the same repeating 3 or 4 enemies. So you just keep fighting the same shit in the open world and getting very trivial rewards from it, so it's never worth the investment. And they also have these orbs floating around every area, so you can collect all of these orbs and apples and onions. But that's not exactly what I give a fuck about in Dragon Ball, is collecting apples and onions. I just want to be beating some ass and getting a goofy story. So it's just, I don't think the open world is all that great. It is big. There's a lot to explore. There is a ton of shit in the open world. And there is a lot of side characters, of course, scattered throughout it. But it's just not... It's not very fun to just go around doing the hunting and fishing and shit like that. There's just not a whole lot of value there. But if you want to talk about pure size of it, it is impressive with how big it is. I wasn't expecting that. Now, the game will take you anywhere from 30 to 40 hours to complete. It took me just under 30 hours to beat it from start to finish, and that was without doing all of the side quests. I did a ton of them because I got kind of addicted to getting soul emblems, so I'd bring like the Ginyu Force back with a Dragon Ball Wish just to get their soul emblems, which was fucking tedious as shit. But just doing, all the side quests and everything, like 100%ing this game, I could absolutely see it take anywhere from 40 to 60 hours. There's a lot of content in the game, but I don't think all of it's good. I know everyone always likes to, brag about how long a game's playtime is. $60 and you get 50 hours worth of entertainment out of it. It's great. But I don't agree with that. I don't think that's a good selling point. Yeah, you get 50 hours, but are all 50 hours good? I'd rather have a $60 game that's 8 hours long, but all 8 hours are great, as opposed to a 50-hour game where 12 hours are great, and then all the rest fucking sucks and is tedious and is just padding for time. That's kind of how I feel with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. A lot of even the main story missions are just fetch quests. Hey Goku, we're in the middle of a filler arc, so do you mind going and getting some meteorite that crashed in the middle of, the fucking Cell Games arena somewhere over there? Oh yeah, just use your senses, you'll find it, it'll be fun, bring it back. That's boring missions, and again, most of the side missions are boring too, that are fetch missions. It's just, I don't think there's a whole lot of value in the game's length when it's mainly padding from a lot of the missions. Now, not all of the story missions are fetch missions, in fact, I'd argue less than half are, but there definitely are too many, I'd say. The majority of the missions, you're either going to get an immediate fight or immediately going out to fetch some shit. Also, I'd like to say, half of the side missions in terms of their XP are totally fucking worthless in comparison to the story missions. For a single story mission, you can get 3 million XP. For a single side mission, you get like 3k. That's towards the end of the game, but that's the difference between a side mission and a story mission. You get so much more XP doing story missions than you do side missions, so if you're trying to level up, the last thing you're going to want to do is go around fucking fetching shit for 3,000 XP. But you do get some good items from them, which could be worthwhile if you want to get your community board shit up. But I mean, the XP difference is remarkable. Plugging this into the moist meter, I'm giving Dragon Ball Z Kakarot a nice 65%. While I do love the story and all of its cheesy, goofy goodness, if you're not a fan of Dragon Ball already, there is absolutely nothing for you there. I imagine most people will get turned off by it. And I also do like the gameplay, but it gets extremely tedious and it really is the same fight over and over and over again. There's really nothing too innovative or new about the combat system. Not that it totally needs to reinvent it, but just something to kind of make it a little fresher. I guess they kind of tried. They'll have these like bullet hell sections where a boss enemy has a special attack, but even that's just one quick thing that lasts 10 seconds. That's nothing overly great. So the gameplay does get super samey and tedious after a little while and just boring and uninteresting at points. But I enjoyed the game overall. I'd say it was a lot of fun. I do think the side missions as well, really all the missions that involve fetch quests really needed to be addressed a little bit better. It seems like it just really wanted to pad out the playtime without any real justification for getting those items or any real story significance behind it. Just seemed like for the sake of making it long. Overall though, good game, had fun with it.
Jackson here from the hair analyzing department over at Moisture HQ. Did you know Keeps is revolutionizing the way men are treated for hair loss? It's actually pretty incredible just how easy and affordable they have made keeping your hair on your head. With Keeps, you can visit a certified doctor online and get scientifically proven hair loss treatments delivered discreetly straight to your door. It's that easy and successful because Keeps treatments are up to 90% effective at reducing and stopping future hair loss. Find out just why nearly 100,000 men trust Keeps with the hairs on their heads by heading over to keeps.com/moist. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/moist or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. Once again, that's keeps.com/moist. This episode is brought to you by Raycon.
Initiating moisture.
I was an Animal Crossing virgin until New Horizons came out, and I have to say, this is not the kind of game I've ever really enjoyed, but this game fucking bangs. I've had so much fun And I can fully see why so many people get so invested in the game. There's just so much to do in it, and it's a never-ending experience. Now, for me personally, I found most of the fun to be sharing the experience with others. I streamed a lot of Animal Crossing at twitch.tv/moistcritical, and the most fun would be when I opened up the floodgates and let the stream come in. I'd march right up to my airport staff, I'd say, "Orville, unlock that door." He'd look at me with tears in his eyes and say, "Charlie, please not again, we can't handle more of this." And I'd say, "Orville, open that fucking door." Falling into a deeper sadness, Orville would remind me, "Charlie, the internet's a weird place and we've had trouble with some of these degenerates using your island like a fleshlight. Are you positive?" And I'd say, "Orville, don't take that tone with me again. We're opening the gates." The PTSD would set in, he'd go into a hysterical fit, but he'd open those gates and we let the internet stream come in. And I basically turned my island into a sexual paradise. Basically, I turned my island into OnlyFans. And it was a magical experience. The community came together. I'd hire some of the people to water some of my plants while I was out fetching some wood so I could build another chair. There was just so much to do. The amount of things you can do in Animal Crossing is astonishing, honestly. And it wasn't just sharing the experience with my streams. Tiana and I played a lot of Animal Crossing off stream. She really enjoyed the grind, and it was fun playing that with her. So I think this is a game that fits extremely well for anyone looking for a really laid-back kind of game, or just a casual game to play with someone that's really not even a gamer. Because there's a lot to do. You can decorate your house in all kinds of different ways, decorate everything on the island, customize so much shit. You can terraform your island into multiple different ways. You can have fucking waterfalls running through your shit. You can really design something truly unique and fun. The only thing is, this is not a game I'd recommend to everyone. The pacing in this game is extremely slow, and I typically don't like that. But I didn't mind it in this game because, the grind was enjoyable. It's very colorful, the characters are fun to talk to. I just don't really have any complaints about the game, to be honest. But I see why a lot of people wouldn't like it, because the entire game is basically a giant fetch quest. It's a never-ending fetch quest series, and that's not exactly fun. The fun comes from when you complete that and then build your shit. But for a lot of people, it's going to be pretty relaxing and even therapeutic to a certain degree just to cast your fishing line out there and catch yourself a golden trout at some point. It's just a really, really casual, laid-back game that has a lot of depth to it if you're willing to give it that chance, so you could really build something wild, a giant fucking empire on your island. And I appreciate that. The possibilities in this game are actually endless, and I mean that with no exaggeration. You can do pretty much anything you can dream of for your island. The customization is wild. I went to someone's island and they had their entire house decorated in Pokimane posters and also a satanic ritual room to try and summon Pokimane. It was crazy what they were able to do. The only negative things I can think about the game are just how slow of a burn it is. And again, I usually hate that, but I didn't mind it here, but I definitely see why a lot of people would. Especially the beginning in particular, it is super slow. You'll only be making like one fucking flower in the beginning, then having to wait a full day. Also, everything happens in real time, so one day in the real world is one day in the game. The only way around that is changing the time on your Nintendo Switch, which full transparency, I did. In fact, I time traveled 40 years into the future just to see what my island would look like. So I traveled to the far off future of 2060. And let me tell you right now, Tom Nook is an immortal. He might be a vampire, I'm not quite sure. Maybe the Fountain of Youth exists on the island. There's no real telling, but in 2060, it was identical to 2020. So a bit disappointed there. I was hoping, all the characters would have like graying beards or something, look like some fucking wizards out of a Tolkien novel. But that didn't happen. What I'm saying is, if you're going to play this without time switching, which a lot of people consider cheating, I don't. I don't see any problem with it. It's just progressing in the game at a different pace, at your own pace. Since it is a personalized experience, I don't see anything wrong with it. But there's a lot of people that take issue, and if you're not going to do that, you're going to be kind of bored for like the first 3 days because you're not going to have a whole lot of shit to do. It's very limited in what you have available to you in the beginning. And it doesn't really open itself up until you start really getting shit cranking, like in a week, maybe. And that's not a bad thing either. Because maybe, for some people, the experience will be, hopping on the game for an hour or two a day, and just doing some chores, getting some things set up, and then the next day the buildings are complete, and then you go from there. It's going to be different for everyone, and I really think it just offers a lot to just a casual experience that's really customizable. So, plugging Animal Crossing New Horizon into the Moist Meter, I'm giving this bad boy a 90%. I really didn't expect to like this game, but I ended up really liking this game. So yeah, that's about it. It's time to talk about Raycon again. I've recommended these bad boys plenty of times by now. I use them for the gym. I think they're fantastic when it comes to anything active. They're wireless earbuds. But let's face it, most gyms are closed right now, and you're probably not going to be going to the gym unless you're trying to weather the apocalypse. That's no excuse not to work out and be active, though. You can do all kinds of bodyweight exercises, calisthenics at home. And if you're going to be doing those, you're going to need some boner jams blasting. So you got to get some Raycon earbuds. They sound just as amazing as the other top audio brands, but they come in at half the price. The everyday E25s are the best model, so I still recommend that one. It's 15% off if you click the link in the description, so if you're interested in Raycon at all, feel free to click the link for 15% off. This video is brought to you by Surfshark.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at the highly anticipated masterpiece, Bugsnax. Bugsnax is to the PlayStation 5 what Halo was to the Xbox. It's a fucking system seller. Now, all jokes aside, Bugsnax is a good game. Now, I know for like the last 8 months or whatever it's been since the game was announced, everyone was joking about how Bugsnax would be the title to finally overthrow GTA 5 for the highest grossing video game of all time and stuff like that. Just making jokes about the game, and most people didn't think it'd actually be very good. But I'm pleasantly surprised to say that the game is good, like surprisingly good. I was definitely joking around with that shit as well, and I am absolutely delighted to say the game is unironically a good game. I don't have a single complaint about Bugsnax. Every character in this game is likable. All the writing is so goofily cheesy and self-aware that even bad jokes in it still just kind of make you smile. Even though they're like pretty fucking bad jokes, they'll still make you smile because it's like, the developers are in on it. They know what they're doing. They understand what this is coming across as. Now, make no mistake though, this is definitely a game geared towards a younger audience. That's not to say adults can't enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed it, but if you're one of those kind of dudes that's really insecure in his masculinity, who only like drinks muscle milk and talks about titties, you'll probably not want to play this game because it's cartoony and definitely geared towards a younger audience, but it is a fun game. Like, it is a game to kick back and just play casually, get a nice bit of lore. It's a really good narrative. It's just interesting and very different. So let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is all about catching Bugsnax, as the name would imply. Bugsnax are like drugs, but like a really hard form of drugs that the inhabitants of the island enjoy and are addicted to. So most of your 8-hour journey is spent collecting these Bugsnax. Each one has different ways of catching them. You have an assortment of traps that you'll use in combination with each other to lure Bugsnax in and catch them, and then feed them to the inhabitants, which then cause some kind of body horror modification on them where they take on like the arms of a strawberry or something. So you'll have your little sauce slingshot and be firing ketchup trying to lure a hamburger into a fly trap, and then you feed it to somebody, and then they all of a sudden have a full fucking hamburger face and stuff like that. It's not super deep or anything, but it is still just enjoyable to kick back and catch some Bugsnax. It's never boring, it's never like a chore, it's just kind of delightful. It's hard to not have fun when playing Bugsnax. There's just some certain charm about it. So just go ahead and throw out everything you think you know about catching bugs, because this shit right here, this is going to reinvent what that even fucking means to catch a bug. It's good. Gameplay's good. But the best part about Bugsnax to me is the characters and like the lore surrounding the characters. You're a journalist who goes to an island to interview the inhabitants. You also go on a mission to find a missing inhabitant of the island, Lisbert. And across that journey, you're going to learn a lot of things about a lot of different people. And they have some tragic backstories. Some of these get kind of dark. Not like super dark. It's not like one of the characters committed a war crime and is hiding out and is haunted by the PTSD of the sins they committed in the past or anything wild like that. But they do still have some depth to them, and they are very decently crafted stories surrounding the characters that I can really appreciate. And I really started to care for pretty much every character on the island. There's not like a bad character that you'd roll your eyes at, in my opinion. They're all very interesting and cute in their own way. And I just really like the relationships between all of them, because they all like hate each other, then they like each other, then they party and shit. It's a fucking cute game. Like, I don't know what else to say. The characters have cool stories. The narrative is interesting. You're constantly wondering, what are Bugsnax? Where is Lisbert? What happened to Lisbert? Then you're hearing these like urban legends of Sasquatch and the giant queen Bugsnax roaming the area. there's just a lot of moving parts to the narrative that I really appreciate. And visually, I really like the game. I think the game's visuals are really reminiscent of like an old school game that's just really full of imagination and creativity. And it's just really hard not to enjoy your time on the island, going to all the different places, catching all the different Bugsnax, and just learning about everyone and everything going around. I really enjoyed it. Now, plugging Bugsnax, oh, it also has a really good soundtrack, by the way. The soundtrack absolutely bangs. This shit is constantly slapping. I really appreciated the music in the game. So, plugging Bugsnax into the moist meter, I'm giving it an 85%. Now, I know Bugsnax enthusiasts right now are getting a little heated, wondering why the fuck it's kind of low when I have zero complaints, literally zero complaints. And the reason is, just because I have no complaints doesn't mean I think this is a game that everyone's going to go out, buy, and enjoy. I definitely think there's going to be a large portion of people that just find the game boring or uninteresting. I wasn't one of those people, but I can definitely see that because the gameplay is not the most engaging thing in the world. You move around pretty slow. Getting from point A to point B does get a little tedious, but for me, that was just part of the little adventure and the fun. But for other people, that's going to be more of a hassle than anything, I imagine. So I really liked it, and I think it's a good game, but by no means is it a flawless, perfect game that everybody should play and everybody will enjoy. So that's how I'm justifying the 85%. But I will say, it really caught me by surprise because I was expecting nothing of Bugsnax, but I got a lot more than I expected. And the speedrun for this game, they have a great speedrun 80% route, really fucking fun route. I really like the speedrun here. So that's also something to keep in mind. Good speedrun game. And yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. I've said it before and I'll say it again just in case you weren't listening to me and being stubborn. VPNs are essential for the modern day internet. So let's talk about Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN is an incredibly powerful VPN with robust tools that give users plenty of options in how they want to explore the internet safely and securely. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee just in case you're not satisfied with it. You can try it for 30 days, get the money back. You can use it on unlimited devices. You're never going to be chained down to just one device using Surfshark VPN. You can keep everything protected. It also has clean web technology which allows you to just explore the cyberspace securely, no ads, tracking, phishing, malware, anything like that. Everything is private, secure, and you never really have to worry about your data being leaked to places you don't want it going to. I always recommend VPNs, so Surfshark is definitely a very good one. If you're interested in trying Surfshark, you can go to surfshark.deals/penguin to get 84% off a 2-year plan, as well as 4 extra months for free. So that's surfshark.deals/penguin, 84% off 2-year plan plus 4 months for free. So yeah.